Okay. All right. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? As you can see, we are back with our Monday night deep dive live. I am here with a very special guest to join us for this episode's recap, and we're going to go into those tarot cards. We're definitely going to go into those tarot cards. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Let me see what we already have here. Oh, Taran, say hello.
Hey everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a big fan of From. Last year I did a video with a theory around tarot cards with the movie guru that sort of blew up, and I've done some Reddit posts about it as well that blew up. And yeah, I'm here to talk about my latest thinking on the theory, what the tarot card scene means. I don't think I've actually spoken on video about this yet, so this is my sort of debut breakdown of Taran, and I'm going to be doing another one on Reels channel as well this Wednesday too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming through on such short notice and joining us. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's usually a lot of relaxed out here. I see some of our usuals coming through. Gothic shit. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate you. And of course, you came through early. You always there for me, girl. You always there for me. Thank you. Frankie Age. Yes, you made it. You made it on time. I appreciate you for coming through, Frankie. Thank you for being here and supporting us. We got 33 people in the room tonight. You guys are in for a big treat tonight. We're definitely going to have a nice, long, in-depth conversation about that episode. You guys know I'm going to answer any of your questions that you may have. And like my guy Taran said, we're going to go into these tarot cards. So let's see, who else do we have here? Linda. Oh man. All right, Linda. Appreciate you for coming through, checking in from us all the way from Germany. I don't even know what time it is in Germany, but thank you so much for coming through. I really appreciate the support. I know you have to get some rest, and I hope to see you watch the replay tomorrow and enjoy this shout out. Who else do we have here? We got Vanessa Wicked. Yo, Vanessa, stay coming through. Man, thank you, Vanessa. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Who else we got? We got 44 people in here. Let's see what we're doing right now. 44 people, 21 likes. Please, guys, if you guys are coming through, if you enjoy this content, please hit us with a like and subscribe. You guys might notice you gotta be subscribed today. You're gonna want to go ahead and subscribe. Definitely appreciate you on. We got Rubes News stay coming on. What's good, my guy? Who else we have in here? Bitey. Thank you, Bitey. Man, it really warms my heart when I see some of you people come through, and I've seen you on previous lives. So I'm starting to feel like we really are becoming closer and closer each week. I really appreciate the support. Thank you all so much. Carrie's coming through and showing love. Wild Margarine, the one. Oh man, thank you for coming through, Wild Margarine. VFC Church musician. VFC Church, I think you might be new. VFC Church musician, where are you checking from? Where's VFC Church? I need to know a little bit more details, VFC Church. Please let me know. Where are you coming from? What city, what state, what country? And help explain that name. Really appreciate it. Amy. Oh man, Amy. Yeah, we got a Taran update. We going into it. We have 48 people now. I just want to see if we could get a little bit more people, Taran. I know it's a little late for you. Look, I just want to get a couple more people in here.
It's all good. I mean, maybe we could talk a little bit before we launch into the tarot theory, if you like. I would love to know your thoughts on, we got Tilly doing the tarot card reading, and then the crow burst through the window.
Yes.
And a lot of people are saying what we're connecting here is the tarot to the crow going through the window trying to interrupt the reading. That's what some people are suggesting. I actually think the crow was trying to wake Elgin up, personally. I think that's potentially why it came through the window. The reason I say that is because I think the Crows are good. I think the Crows are on the side of the Sun team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's like a Sun team and a Moon team. The Sun team's good, the Moon team's bad. And I think I think the Moon team, they got the Rats maybe going on, and I think maybe the Sun team have got the Crows. And it's interesting. You got Catri's. He wears that like a stole, I think it's called, that priest stole, and you got the Crow on the Sun side, not on the Moon side. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, so I think that Elgin is potentially going to be possessed at some point by one of the 7 beings on the show. I think that there's 4 players and 7 beings total. And I think one of them is trying to possess Elgin. I think another of them's trying to possess Jade. And I think that that's what these visions are. The ghosts that we're seeing are potentially past people who have been possessed by these players historically. So I think in the past, potentially Christopher was possessed by one of these players. And I think that whoever possessed Christopher last time is now trying to possess Jade. And the same with Elgin. I think last time in the 1860s timeline, there's OK Ito, who was a historical Japanese figure, who I think is going to be on the show. I think that she was the last one to be possessed, and now Elgin is next. And I think potentially Tilly is excited for that as well. She wants Elgin to be possessed.
So you're of the theory that there's something more to Tilly than what we've been seeing.
Yeah, I think that Tilly is possessed by a fallen angel called Azazel. So I think there's 7 beings. They're pretty much all biblical figures originally, and then over time they evolve into different beings. So one of them, the main boogeyman is Cain, and that symbol, that F symbol that we keep seeing, is a mirrored version of the mark of Cain. And that's why we see it so often. And the reason why it's mirrored in reverse is because the version of Fromland that we're seeing is actually a mirrored version of a Canadian town. And I think we're going to see that Canadian town in season 4, or maybe at the end of season 3. So anyway, look, that's just my thinking.
Real quick, your microphone, there's like a little reverb to it.
Oh, really? Maybe I turn my volume down. Maybe that will help. How's that? Is that better?
It's still the same. Like,
I'm gonna put my headphones in.
Say it again.
I'm gonna put my headphones in. Maybe that'll help. Let's see if it improves.
Oh, night and day. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Sorry for that.
Oh wait, no. It came back.
Is it back now?
Okay. Now it's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's my connection.
Okay.
Rather than. Sorry. You want me to leave and come back? I'll leave and come back. Maybe that'll help. You never know.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, I'm excited. Rube Noons, love your vibe too. Greek girl, hey, thank you for coming through. Are you checking in from Greece, or are you somewhere else? Let's see. Modesty, you made it. First off, born and raised in the Bronx. You got to tell me what part of the Bronx, because yeah, you talking about South Bronx or North Bronx? Like, that's a big difference between like Soundview or Van Cortlandt. Let me know what part of the Bronx you're coming in. But I appreciate you for coming through all the way from Charlotte. Let's see who else we have up in here. I'm new. St. Louis, Missouri Gospel Temple Church got a Christ fan of your front blog. Hey, I'm a fan of you. Thank you so much for coming through and showing support. I really appreciate it. Absolutely love the support. Definitely. All right, we got Taran come back. There he is.
How's that? Is it better?
It's much better. No more reverb.
Great. All right, great. Actually, when you were talking earlier, you had a lot of reverb too, but it's gone away. So it might be just the connection coming in and out.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. All right. Let's see. How many people we got? Have we got enough people for me to start my
Yeah,
presentation?
I think we got
Yeah.
73 right now. That's a good start.
All right. I mean, they can always skip back and catch up. So is it sharing yet? I don't know if it's sharing.
Here we
I
go.
think it. All right. Sweet. All right, everyone. So yeah, and feel free to interrupt me anytime you like. The movie blog. Happy to have my train of thought interrupted. If you wanna say something. Okay. So everyone. Obviously, I predicted. I think it was like season 2, episode 3, maybe, when I predicted that everyone on the show is a metaphorical representation of a tarot card, and that I believed that there's multiple beings playing some sort of 4-player card game, um, some sort of version of a tarot card game. Um, and this is because historically, tarot cards were not, in fact, sort of esoteric, occult cards that you can use to predict the future. They were actually just the original playing cards. They were invented in Italy, and they were used all across Europe by sort of the early 1500s as the standard deck of playing cards. And they would play games, all sorts of card games, sort of trick-taking games, typically, and trump games. And that's the origin of playing cards. And it was only sort of in the 18th century when like sort of some like French sort of intellectual people decided to start associating them with the occult and being able to tell the future and things like that. So I just wanted to give everyone that context because I actually think that as in terms of the clues on the show, in terms of who represents each tarot card, I don't think the like modern day interpretations of them, in terms of like, oh, the hangman means that you have like uh, 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 you're gonna that character must be a bad father or something because that's what the hangman tarot card represents when you do like an occult reading or whatever, or an esoteric reading. That I don't think that applies here at all. I actually think it's almost entirely related to how the card looks and what like the card is called, and that's about it. So people who are like, oh, this person must be the empress because she represents fertility because she's a mother. I don't think that's how it works personally. So I think that's a dead end for people personally. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. So let me launch into this. Okay. So when Tilly shows the tarot cards, she says they played a pretty big role in my life at a critical juncture. So what is she telling us? She's speaking to the audience here. It's actually the showrunners, in my opinion, speaking directly to the audience. And what they're saying is, at some point in this origin story, a critical juncture, tarot cards are involved. And in my theory, I believe that when the world of Fromland was created, they in fact um, basically an accused witch, a woman who I believe was called Bridget of York, is in Newfoundland. Her child has been kidnapped by a possessed priest who is possessed by uh, Cain from the Bible, but he's evolved over time to become an indigenous boogeyman called Aikmudim from the local Beartalk religion of Newfoundland. But in any case, I believe that when this world was created, this witch character, Bridget, challenged the boogeyman to a game of cards on a set of board games, actually, um, to win the soul of her son back. And I think that she springs a trap using what's called cunning folk magic. So remember, guys, Pratt, the surname Pratt means cunning, and there's many, many references to cunning folk English magic in this. And I believe that she springs a trap, and everyone gets sucked into a witch's bottle, and that's why we see so many bottle references on the show, because Fromland is basically like a world trapped inside a witch's bottle. So that's what I think is happening here, just to give you that wider context. So she's saying, in any case, tarot cards are part of the origin story here. Pay attention. And she also said, the tarot cards told me about this place. Maybe not in so many words, but the signs were all there if I'd known how to read them. And this echoes when Tabitha says, that this her friend, I think it might have been, no, it's not Charlie from Duluth, but anyway, one of her friends told her, this place is trying to tell us something. If only we were listening closely enough to hear it. And that reminded me a lot of that, because they hide a lot of clues in the dialogue as well. So that's where I'm at on that. And then when Fatima doubts the tarot cards, Tilly says, the worst thing that'll happen is you'll look a bit silly once we're done. I think this is the showrunners basically speaking to us saying, what's the worst that could happen? Thinking that tarot cards are a part of this. But the worst thing that will happen if you have some crazy theory about tarot cards is you'll look silly at the end of the show. So I think they're sending a message saying, what's the worst that could happen believing that tarot cards are a part of this. And then she also says how weird it is for Fatima to draw the line at not believing in tarot cards when there's so much other crazy stuff happening on the show. And perhaps that's basically them telling us maybe theories built around tarot cards aren't so crazy. And it was sort of oddly reminiscent of when Ellis was like theory shaming Dale. Remember that night of the Colony House massacre when Ellis basically tells Dale to shut up.
Yep.
And I think that was the showrunners basically saying to people, don't be like drunk Ellis. Don't be that guy who says, shut up, man, your theory's dumb. And I think in this case, they're saying the same thing. They're saying, don't, why are you drawing the line at tarot cards, for example? Because a lot of people, when I posted my theory, a lot of people liked it, but a lot of people thought it was like the craziest, most ridiculous theory, no evidence, rubbish. So I think that was them sort of responding to that. Maybe that's me being a little, thinking that the showrunners have seen my theory, but it is the most liked. It is the most liked theory on Reddit, or it was for a long time. I don't know now. I think maybe they're making a reference to us here. So who knows? Who knows? Anyway, and remember, this is what Ellis says to Dale. So I've just included that there for you guys. So yeah, let me get into how I think the tarot cards work in this world, if that's okay.
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
Okay, cool. So I think the game they're playing here is pretty much the first game that was played with tarot cards, which is called Triomphe. But I'm not sure if the rules of how the game is played actually really apply here. I don't think that like this character interacts with that character in the same way that the cards would in the game. I think it's a bit more metaphorical than that, actually. So I'm not saying that you need to learn the rules of Triomphe to understand how the game of From is being played. I think it's like, she wanted to play a game by the rules of the cards, but he's made a whole new game, but still using the game pieces and the card pieces and everything. And actually, the game is more related to emotions people feel: fear, pain, courage, hope, love. These are the different beings they score and gain their powers from eliciting these emotions. This is why the monsters try and scare people and torture them to death, because their team wins by getting pain and fear, while the good team wins by getting hope and courage, as far as I can tell. And I think that's why Ghost Abby said, fear is what feeds the forest. No, sorry, hope is what feeds the forest. I think that's a lie. I think actually that it's pain that feeds the forest. But anyway, sorry, I've gone off on a tangent there.
No.
Anyway. So tarot cards in modern times, they're used in this like, let's tell the future, whatever, this esoteric way. And I know there's a lot of Wiccans who watch this show, and I know there's a lot of people who believe in tarot cards, and I don't even know if I don't believe in them. So when I'm saying this, I'm not trying to disrespect the modern day interpretation of tarot cards as if to say that's not real. I just mean in the context of the show, I think it's too esoteric for them to expect people to make these connections. So I think it's a more literal interpretation of this. And it's also because the modern esoteric interpretation of tarot cards, it didn't exist in the 15th century. It just didn't. So if this curse was created around this time, if it was deeply connected to like 18th, 19th century tarot card interpretations, I think it just doesn't make sense chronologically speaking. So look, that's just my theory, but I have a huge respect for people who read tarot cards. and I just wanted to make that clear because I don't want to upset anyone. And I want to be super respectful because I know some people feel very passionately about it, and rightly so. It's a very fast. I've had a great deal of fun studying tarot cards, and I think that the showrunners want us to as well. And I think if you are a tarot card reader, you probably have a bit of an advantage here. So okay, anyway, let's move on. So they even have in the song the future's not ours to see. I almost think they're saying to us, it's not about telling the future. It's about the cards itself. And anyway, so the suits in tarot cards, the four suits, cups,
Hmm.
swords, wands, and coins, they are what eventually became spades, hearts, what was the other one? Diamonds and clubs. So that's another thing. And so everyone who arrives in town becomes a metaphorical version of these tarot cards. I mean, I thought it was super interesting that on the stairs, you see these cars coming in, the ambulance and the dump truck, and then next to them you have the playing cards on the stairs. It's almost as if the cars are turning into playing cards, as if the people in the cars are becoming playing cards as they enter Fromland. What numbers did we see on the stairs? Do you remember what numbers of the playing cards there were?
No.
The movie blog. Uh, I wouldn't if I hadn't noticed this specifically. So on the left hand side you have a 4, and then on the right hand side you have a 7 and an 8 on top of each other.
Okay.
And isn't it interesting that the number of tarot cards there are in a tarot deck is 78 cards, and the number of players in a game oh my god, I'm forgetting what it is, of Triumphi, is 4 players. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. And what's also interesting is that the actors have been hiding the number 78 in their social media posts. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't screenshotting them, and they tended to come up in stories.
Hmm.
But here's one that I did manage to, like, I went through my phone and I managed to pull this one up. I'm sure I have others somewhere in there, but I've got thousands of photos and I just couldn't be bothered to go through them all. But here is an example where Ellis and a friend of his, they randomly take a picture in front of this. It's not a very interesting background, guys. It's not a very interesting background. And yet here we have 78 child life jackets right between their heads. So I think the number 78 is a clue on the show. I don't think they use it very often, but the actors have certainly been told, if you see the number 78, take a picture with it and hide it in the background. I actually think that the actors have been given a list of like symbols and numbers and things, and they share them on their social media posts. So, for example, they did an escape room together and they called themselves the 78% Club. I don't even know what that means. Did they get 78% on the escape room? Can you get a percentage in an escape room? That's what they called themselves. So anyway, just some examples there of these clues to the number 78 being left. 78 doesn't really have much to do with anything else but the total number of tarot cards. So guys, I think this is confirmed now personally. But it's people can interpret it as they like. But I think that's important. And isn't it interesting as well? 1978 is when that timeline happens with Victor
Yep.
Masker. All right, so I'm going to show you some of the ways that these characters are depicted as these tarot cards here. So here's Jim. He's the obvious one. So for every single way of solving clues on the show, they make a really, really obvious one, and then the rest of them are hidden more carefully. So for example, when they hide clues in the dialogue, the obvious one they use is okay, the word okay. And it's a clue to okay Ito and the okay Corral, in my opinion. Okay is used over 1,000 times in seasons 1 and 2. 1,088 times, I think. If you lined up every time they used the word okay, and each time they said it, it took 2 seconds, it would take 35 minutes to play all the okays on the show. There are conversations they have where every sentence ends in okay. Back and forth, back and forth. It's a clue, trust me. It's not an okay. I know people say, oh, it's a very common word, but it's not in the top 100 most commonly used words, but it's the third most used word on the show with more than 3 letters. And it's not in the top 1,000 most used words either. So anyway, sorry. Again, I've gone off on a tangent, but here you see Jim. He's hanging upside down in the lighthouse. That hasn't had anything to do with anything on the show so far. You know, is it a foreshadowing of Jim hanging upside down at a later date? Maybe, but I think it's a more of an esoteric clue to the fact that he's a hangman. I mean, Jim is always seen around rope, you know, constantly with rope near him. You know, when Tabitha's digging her hole, there's a very interesting scene where he sort of leans so that the rope is kind of around his head. Also, the Hanged Man has a halo around his head. Do you remember the scene where Jade is seeing the Civil War soldier, and
Yeah.
then Jim's head appears with the sun behind him
Yep.
like a
Yep.
halo? This is a clue to the Hanged Man. And remember in the RV when they crash? I don't even have a picture of that here. How is Jim positioned when the hangman when the
He's hanging
RV
upside down.
crashes? How this guy hangs up upside down quite a few times. And who climbs trees on this show? Who's climbed a tree? Jim is the only person who's climbed a tree on this show, and he's holding a line as he's carrying it up. I mean, I don't know. And look here, look at this line here going to his neck. Do you see that?
I do.
Here he is holding a rope. Anyway, okay, so we got a halo around his head here. You see here where they frame that shot so that there's this thing around his head?
I see.
Looks a bit like this. All right, so anyway, I've done enough of that. Now, Boyd is definitely the fool, in my opinion. He calls himself a dumb mother effer in the church. I'm just a dumb mother effer. That's a clue that I'm a fool, basically. The fool is the most powerful card in the tarot deck and the most important one in terms of the card games. Maybe not in modern day tarot interpretations, but in the historic card game, it was like a very special card. It was undefeatable. And I wonder whether the fact that Boyd is the fool card is why he seems to have this plot armor where the monsters never seem to kill him. Maybe it's because the fool card can't be defeated. Maybe they can't kill him. Because, you know, he has a confrontation with Smiley and they don't kill him. They trap him in the barn. They don't kill him. Mm-hmm. It seems in episode 4, based on the trailers we've seen, that they literally dangle some keys in front of him while he's in there and they don't kill him. I just think maybe he's got this protection, this plot armor. Maybe the plot armor is actually genuinely part of the plot, you know? So anyway, just a little tinfoil there. Now, why do I think Boyd's the fool? Well, the fool card is the one that chases a dog off a cliff. That's why he's called a fool, because he follows a little dog off a cliff. And look at this guy, like he's stepping out. He's about to step over the cliff. Here's Boyd. When he first sees the dog, he steps over a log like that. And what does he do? He follows the dog off a cliff or into the woods and gets lost, you know? And here he is again, following another dog. Who's the tarot card that follows dogs? It's the Fool. And then here's the other interesting thing. The Fool is known to carry things in bundles. See here, the bindle on his back?
Yep.
Do you know who the only other guy who carries things in bundles on the show? Even when it has handles. Look at this bag. It's got handles, but he's decided to carry it in bundle form. And when he gets remember when he gets the talismans for the first time, and they do this whole thing of him spilling them on the ground and then taking off his shirt and putting them in and having him wrap it up in a bundle. Again, this is a clue to him being the fool. So that's Boyd being the fool. And I'm going to run through here the reasons why I've assigned each person their card. Actually, I might jump down here. So I think in the comments, I posted some more of these. Yeah. So can you see this, Tilly?
I see Tilly.
Yeah. So Tilly, I believe, is Temperance. You see her here with these 2 cups, very sort of pointed scenes where she's sort of pouring liquid between cups. And she's got these triangles on her shirt as well, which I thought was quite interesting. And obviously she's got a triangle here on her clothing. So I think that she may be Temperance in terms of a tarot deck. We'll see. And then what else we got? Oh, Jade, I'm fairly certain. Sorry, I got to share my screen again. How do I do this? Slides. No, not slides. Share screen. There we go. Share. Let me know when you can see that. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So why does Jade wear a cat shirt? Everyone's gonna say, "Oh, well, it's Schrodinger's cat." You know, he discussed Schrodinger's cat, so that's why he has cats on his shirt. Well, I think actually it's sort of a loose clue to him being strength, but it's actually the infinity symbol that most connects Jade to the strength card. You can see it here above the head of the strength card, and he carries things in the shape of the infinity symbol quite often. He also, if I don't have it up, I don't have it in this image, but interestingly, you know the scene where we first meet Jade, he falls out of the car and he's
Mm-hmm.
all like high on some sort of drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the bottom of his shoe. If you look closely, there's an infinity symbol drawn in chalk on the bottom of his shoe in that scene.
Hmm.
Now,
I'm gonna try to
come
pull it up.
on, that's a huge coincidence. Yeah, please do pull it up if you can. I'll keep going in the meantime. So let me open another one of these that I've made. Share this tab instead. Cool. I think you can see that. Yeah. So obviously, Katri being the priest is going to be the priest archetype on the show, but it's interesting that the Hierophant is the priest archetype, and he is known to be between two gray pillars generally. And isn't it interesting that we get these shots of Katri between these sort of gray stones meditating in the center? There's also this scene here that I thought was very telling where, okay, these are all wooden beams. I've marked them in red so you can see the way that this symbol here matches with this. I thought that was very interesting framing. And then isn't it interesting we have a stack of 3 crosses of different heights, and his symbol here is like this sort of weird 3 crossed staff. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. Obviously, as well, we have Ellis. In the most recent episode, did you notice that Ellis has this sketched on his sleeve? The movie blog.
He has
This
that painting.
he has that painting now on his sleeve in episode 3 when he's talking to Boyd and he's sitting by the window and then Donna comes in and they talk about capturing a monster. He has a dragonfly now drawn on his top, and he also has this Adam and Eve drawing as well there.
Okay.
So again, and why am I telling you this? Because Ellis is he's the lovers card. That's why he's the lovers tarot card for sure.
Okay.
Okay, what else? Who else we got? Did I do any others that are worth looking at? No, that's about it. Okay, I'll go back to sharing the tab and we can go through everyone. I mean, I don't know if it'll be that interesting to everyone for me to go through each person. But just so you know, you can see it here. Ethan's the magician. The magician is known as the little man. He's the little man on the show. He also has a red sort of mantle, red cloak, very important part of his tarot card. And isn't it interesting that Victor gives Ethan this red sweater jacket thing in in season 2? Okay, so what else we got? We got Tabitha. She's the high priestess. The high priestess has a copy of the Torah, and it's interesting that Tabitha finds this copy of the Bible that Megan's mum, forgotten her name, was writing out for Katri. And isn't it interesting that Tabitha holds this copy? And also, I noticed that there's a scene where Tabitha is holding the kite, and there's a cross in the kite, and she holds it and that cross is also part of her symbology. The Empress is Fatima. She's pregnant. She holds a rose.
I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. Shall I keep going? I'll keep going. Nathan, I think, is the emperor because he has two goats with him at one point. I think. I've gone through the Hierophant. I've gone through the lovers. The chariot is Bacta because she's the coach driver. Jade, I've talked to you about. Strength. He talks about Schrodinger's cat as well. Another clue. You know, we're not going to put a lion on the show. Might be too obvious. You know. Victor's the hermit. He lived alone. You know, when he meets Tabitha, he's carrying that torch, which I thought was really interesting. The Wheel of Fortune, I think that is Elgin, because it's the name of a famous watchmaker. He has prophetic dreams. He talks about owls that signify prophecy. To be honest, I don't know about this one. This one's pretty loose. Pretty loose. Tom the barman was Justice. He says, I feel like I'm holding court. He's a philosophy major. That I'm not so sure about, actually. But when he says, I feel like I'm holding court, a court justice, he holds court. Very weird thing to say as well. There's only two people in the room. Why you say you such a random, you know, it's a clue, guys. It's a clue. Now, Justice is the tarot card that we see on the bottom of the tarot deck when Tilly shows it. What does that mean? Who is the new Justice who's replaced Tom? Because what I'm saying is the 78 cards, whenever someone dies, someone replaces them as the new card. So let's see. So for example, didn't you notice that Frank Pratt, doesn't he go into the woods holding a rope and he puts it right up by his head, doesn't he? The swing. So I think Frank Pratt was the old hangsman, and then Jim becomes the new hangsman when he dies. So I think it's not perfect. You know, sometimes there's 80 people, sometimes there's 76, but eventually it needs to equalize to 78. You know, I think Jim can be there at the same time as Frank Pratt. You know, they can both be there. And then but Frank Pratt's going to die relatively soon and Jim's going to take over. I don't, you know, do you see what I mean? So I don't think it's like, oh, one in, one out. You know, it's not quite,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it would just be too easy for people to tell what's going on. So it's a little fudge, you know, it's a little fuzzy. It's a little fuzzy, but I think that's what's going on.
Okay.
So anyway, sorry, I can keep going, or should I go for everyone? I won't go for everyone, but anyway, you can look up this post if you guys like. You can see who I think everyone is. You know, Kenny is the two of clubs because he holds that little, you know, he owns that mini globe. I also want to say I think there's 4 players taking turns picking people from the real world. So I think the good team, they're choosing people about to die anyway, like Katri who's about to commit suicide, Tilly who's got some sort of, I think she got cancer, and then we have people who will inspire hope as well. So Fatima, Katri, maybe Tilly. I don't know about Tilly. I'm a bit, you know, maybe the 7th player has picked her. It's a little bit confusing. We don't have enough context. I think by the end of season 3, I will know what's going on. But at this point, I don't know. I don't know if Tilly was picked by one of the players or if she's one of the players herself. Why she's an avatar for one of the beings. She's being controlled by one of these beings, one of these 7 beings, in my opinion. But anyway, there you go. And then, yeah, the bad team chooses people who are just about to start living their lives and enjoying their lives. You know, Jade's just sold his company, is about to spend all his money. Bacter's just graduated. Boyd's just retired. These are people who are about to enjoy their lives, and the boogeyman has taken them just before, you know, just to be that extra cruelty, just to cause them that extra amount of pain. Remember, Boyd says, "You want to feed up my pain? You want to feed up my pain?" Guys, they're telling, and then, you know, we have that whole weird conversation with Donna and Ethan in the basement. It's like, oh, fear lives inside you, you know, courage, and you can't be brave if you don't have fear, and we need hope or love or joy. And then she's talking about hope when she's talking to Kenny. She's like, there was joy in that house, there was hope, you know, or there was love. You know, that's important for this game. Donna is the avatar for one of the players, the spider being, in my opinion. That's why it's called Colony House, Colony of Spiders. And she's trying to inspire hope. Like there's an image, you know, on that image on the behind the scenes poster of From, when they had all the images of victors all on one wall. Did you ever see that?
Yep.
So there's this picture of Colony House, and it has all these red sort of threads around it. Like there's like red energy coming off it and being like sucked away. I think that's hope. I think that's hope from Colony House. Hope and joy and love, I think they're all sort of conflated into one like positive emotion. Maybe. But they're sucking up that hope and that joy and that love from Colony House, and that's what Donna's trying to do. She's like, forget all the horribleness outside, just have fun. There's actually a purpose to it, in my opinion.
So sorry if I missed it. I'm sorry. I live in Brooklyn. I got an Amazon delivery. I had to haul ass.
No, don't worry. Hey, it's all good. I was just running through some more of the tarot cards, so it wasn't what you didn't miss anything.
How do you think Ethan fits into this?
So, I'm kind of annoyed at myself because I should have thought of this earlier. So my master theory, where I try and solve the whole show before season 3, I can't edit it now
Yeah.
because, so, and I've had this idea now, and it's like, this is so obvious. Why didn't I think of it? So I'm starting to think everyone who's had a seizure was being possessed by one of these players in this world. And I think that people who have visions basically are the ones who may get possessed by one of these 7 beings. I think Donna's already possessed. I think Elgin's about to be possessed. So if Ethan is having these seizures, and I remember very early in season 1, Ethan posted a picture of his sandwich, and his sandwich had a picture of the sun stuck on it. As if someone in the movie set. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the actors get an extra set of clues that we, the public, don't get. So they put stickers on their movie posters. They drop them hints in the in like the interviews that they do. They're given lines to say. They're told to emphasize the word crazy. Use the word crazy and wild. You will see they use the words crazy and wild on the show and in interviews that they do. So they know when something's a clue because they're told you have to use this word. So, and they will notice because they find themselves like they probably go to John and they're like, do I really need to use the word okay 20 times in 2 minutes? That feels weird. And he's like, no, you got to use it. You got to do it verbatim. And they're like, why? I imagine that's what's going through their heads. I bet these conversations are happening. I watched an interview, I think it was with Liz Saunders, where she was asked, how much do you guys get to improvise? And she basically was like, we don't get to improvise. She tried to say like, yeah, we can make suggestions about, certain things, but she was basically saying like, not really. You got to say the script as it comes. And it's interesting. Yeah. I think that that they have this extra layer of clues. And if you look carefully on their Instagrams, you will see these extra clues hidden in their trailers. The main one is the stickers, to be honest. The stickers on their name. Outside their trailers, they have their name. And the crew, they have a sticker book that I think the showrunners have put together. And they put these stickers on their trailer posters. And, there's Noah's Ark on Ethan's. There's all sorts of animals, some with their ears ripped off. Catri's got a very interesting one. It's got like a plague doctor, which I think is from a Mama's Play in the origin story. All sorts of clues. It's fantastic. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff.
No, this is great. I'm just doing a little multitasking.
Yeah.
So I like your theories. I love your theories a lot. Here's my concern. You've seen the episode 3, right?
Yes.
Have you seen beyond that?
No, I haven't seen any.
Okay, so
I don't get the like previews that you guys get. Like
so
how many have you seen? How many have you seen?
I have almost the whole season, but I've only seen up to episode 5. And the reason I do that is because I honestly I don't want to come off inauthentic on the channel. That's the honest truth. If I go too far ahead and I know what's gonna happen, like
no spoilers. I'm not asking for spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
First off, let me turn my light on. I can't even believe that I didn't have it on. 2 things. One, I want to take a quick moment, a quick time out for everyone on the show. Obviously, we have our guest, Taran, but I'm also bringing on another guest on the show. I'm bringing in my very own Blurred Order teammate over here, Yas the model. Now, Yasmin, she is new to the family. She is a welcome addition, and she's going to be able to talk to the show from a fresh set
Welcome.
of eyes.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hey, Anthony, Taran, it's nice to meet you. I'm loving the conversation so far, just like listening, like thus far. So I'm ready. I'm ready to dive in even more. So I'm excited.
Thank you so much for coming
Awesome.
through. So I'm just trying to be careful because there's certain things I don't want to confirm or deny by accident, right? So I'm just mostly going to allow you to speak your theory and ask a couple of questions as opposed to give too much of my opinion on it, if that's okay.
Okay.
So I really like the theory. I really love how much time you put into it. I think if you're not, I think it's a really good theory. I'm gonna say that. I think it's a really good theory.
Oh wow! So is something else like tarot that I've spoken about potentially going to come up, or is it more tarot stuff? Or maybe is that too much of a
Yeah, I was
spoiler?
gonna say
It's
that's
probably
gonna
too much of a
spoil it. It's
spoiler.
gonna spoil it for
It's a
us because
spoiler.
at the end of you saw.
Here's what I can say. Here's what I can say. Right, I'm
All right.
5 episodes in. I have an idea of where this show is going after. I will say this. You mentioned earlier. I don't know if the showrunners, have ever read my theory. I'm going to say there's a 99% chance they did. Right.
My theory or your theory? Your theory.
Your theory. So
my theory. Okay.
Yes. So a lot of the cast watched this show. Like they watched this live stream. So, I've been able to interview a few of them. And then after the video cuts, we'll talk for a few minutes and, they're here. Hey, guys.
Okay.
So
That's nice.
a lot of them watch this show. They watch a lot of our shows. They're very deeply invested in trying to solve this mystery, just like we are. They are given some more notes than us, but they don't know the answer.
Sure.
Or they've got great poker faces. But I believe
they don't. They know what's happened in that season, I think, and they have extra clues. But I don't think any of it, even Boyd, I don't think knows. Harold Perrineau, I don't think he knows.
I think that makes it more fun though and interesting. It makes you
Oh,
more,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like they're playing with their set a giant game of Clue. Who is gonna win? You know what I'm saying? Like who's gonna get the candlestick in, you know what I'm saying, in the I don't know, the cemetery? Like, it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna throw something out there. Okay, I'm just gonna throw something out there. I'm just gonna say some mythical beings that, and I just wanna gauge your reaction. Although if you've only seen up to episode 5, I don't know if these are gonna pop up that soon. But is there a dragon, a giant squid, a sort of boogeyman with a top hat and umbrella, a clock, he throws sand, a giant spider, Bigfoot, someone shape-shifting into a sort of werewolf dog, or a creepy hag old lady monster? Those are the beings, I think, that exist on the show as like in the current timeline. In the current timeline, I think there's 7 beings. The boogeyman is currently in the form of Bonhomme Setters, a Northeast Canadian boogeyman. And I think that his teammate is in the form of Loup Garou. And that's with the dog that we see. It's like a Northeast Canadian mythology werewolf dog. That's what I think is happening. And I think we're also going to meet people in white. It's not just going to be children in white. I think there's going to be a man in white. I think there's going to be like a lady in gray. She's basically a person in white, but I think she'll be like more in a gray with like black curly hair and stuff. We've seen pictures of her in the background, so I'm looking forward to meeting her. So those are some of my predictions for what's coming up. If any of that happens, ooh, everyone's going to have to start looking at Newfoundland. Everyone's going to have to start looking at Newfoundland.
So a lot of the commenters don't want to hear me speak now. Like, Anthony, shut up.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
I'm not going to confirm or deny anything.
Yeah, don't do it. I'm just throwing it out.
I will say this. I will say one thing. I have a big need from season 3, right? I need to have some answer, right? They don't have to answer everything, but I need to have something answered. Otherwise, we're gonna have a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, Jim time traveling to 1978, that I think might happen quite soon. Whether his kids follow him later in the season, I think they're still around based on the descriptions. But I think Jim could potentially time travel sooner than them. It would make more sense for them all to go together, to be honest. But it's possible Jim would go sooner because he's the one who needs to give a bracelet to Miranda. I think if they've got all the kids and Tabitha and Jim, I don't know. Maybe no. I now I remember. There's a shot of Jim in like episode 8 with a bunch of people. Now that I think about it, in the previews in Rotten Tomatoes, so that's probably wrong, actually.
So I like the way you're thinking. I'm not going to say anything. Okay. I'm not going to say anything. These people are going to have.
They're going to kill you. They're going to kill you.
So I will say this. I've scripted my episode 4 breakdown. I'm working on the script for my episode 5 breakdown right now. I won't go into episode 6 until that's written. I still have theories, right? I'm still trying to solve things. So I do have a theory on the show itself.
Can you speak to it? Can you speak to it yet? Or do you need to wait till episode 5 comes
out?
I don't need to wait. It's just I've been waiting to present it in the right way.
Okay.
So like there are similarities to your theory. There is some overlap, and there is opportunity for both to be true. So,
what is the overlap? I'm curious where your research is taking you. Is it Newfoundland? Are you researching Newfoundland at all?
No. I'm staying in North America.
All right, so it must be one of these timelines, right? So it must be 1860s, Civil War, must be 1880s, circus acts, freak show acts, that sort of thing. Could be pre-Salem, New England, historical figures. Who's the other one? 1930s, starlets, singers, Prohibition era mafia, those guys. Those are the timelines that I think we're going to see. Oh, also the Revolutionary War, the Founding Fathers, all that stuff. I genuinely believe that Ben Franklin will physically appear on the show as a character. Genuinely. I genuinely believe that.
So, yes, do you have any theories?
So I have more questions than I do theories, I guess you could say. Only because certain things have appealed to me in the show, I guess more than other things, and I'm like trying to run with them, I guess, and trying to figure them out. Some of them would be that's this woman that Elgin keeps seeing that keeps terrorizing him, with the kimono on. I have so many questions about her origin. Who is she? You know what I'm saying? Why is she so significant? I feel like she's significant, and your face is telling me so many things right now. So I'm just gonna wait and
please look up OK Ito. OK Ito from history. Okay, she is. I've been talking about OK Ito since season 2, episode 5, I think. The moment I noticed the overuse of the word OK, I then studied the history of Japanese people in the United States. OK Ito. OK Ito is why the word OK is overused on the show. OK Ito is the first Japanese person to live and die in the United States. She's the first Japanese person to be buried in the United States. She's probably the most famous Japanese person from history to live in the United States. In fact, you're hard-pressed to find named Japanese historical figures of any significance pre-sort of 1900s who existed in North America. And guess what? She was famous for insisting on wearing kimonos, even though she was living in the West. She arrived in the United States in 1869, and she died in 1870-something. And I believe that she came to Fromland in the 1860s timeline, and I think that she wears this kimono, whatever. She gets transported to Fromland, and then she meets a whole bunch of characters from the 1860s. The main 1860s character, I'm really excited to hear about her. Her name's Caroline Dye. She's the one who made the hoodoo dolls in the town. She's the reason why there's newspaper on the wall. That's a hoodoo practice. She's the reason why there's so much spitting on the show. People spitting like Jade, like Boyd when he comes out of the Martin prison. He goes pet, starts spitting everywhere. These are all clues to hoodoo. Even the word van, the fact that they have a van on the show is because of Van oil. There's even what looks like a mojo bag inside Victor's lunchbox. But yeah, so okay, Ito, I think that's who the Kimono Wraith is. I think in the 1860s, she was possessed by who is now Canaan, I think. Who was originally Canaan from the Bible, and now he's a giant squid, I think, in the current timeline. And he's trying to possess Ellis, and that's where the water's coming from. That's why, possess Elgin. That's why Elgin is like, she's dripping water.
Right.
And he's like, do you know somewhere with water, like a place of water? His dreams have water in it. That means the being that's trying to possess him is associated with water. So I look at my set of 7 beings and I say, who's the sea monster? The sea monster archetype across all the timelines, who starts as Canaan, and then through history it evolves. You need to look at the history and mythology of Newfoundland, and he evolves into these different beings. Now he's a Northeast Canadian sort of boogeyman. Now he's like a giant squid, which is part of like our modern day mythology, in my opinion. In the John Cabot timeline 500 years ago, he's a jellyfish monster, and it goes back and forth. But sorry, I talked way too long there. Apologies, yes. But that's what I think is going on here.
Okay. All right. Well, that's just one of my many questions, as well as also you guys are also talking about, I'm super I guess you can say conflicted about this damn bracelet that Tabby keeps finding. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like how does this bracelet end up in so many, you know what I'm saying? Like you lose it years ago and then it just ends up in so many different places. So I don't know. There's also something like connected with the bracelet as well that I think that maybe it'll explain it as, you know what I'm saying, the season goes on or doesn't, but I feel like the bracelet has another like serious significance of how it keeps getting to different places. Like how did it even end up in the glove compartment for Victor's dad? You know what I'm saying? Like that was like when I saw that, I was like, holy cow, how did it even end up there? Like that doesn't even, she literally gave it to Jim when they were in town. Did he lose it again? Like how does he keep losing it?
I think I know what's happening here, but I'll let Anthony speak on this.
I was just going to touch on, like, I know that a popular thing that I see online is that people are theorizing about time travel and whether or not there's a cycle of kind of like a time loop.
A bootstrap paradox, okay. Right? That's the clue that they're saying. The bracelet is made out of Jim's father's bootlaces. And there's like 5 time travel paradoxes, and one of them is a bootstrap paradox. And then we see the bracelet in 1978. We see a bracelet that was made in 1976 that looks exactly like Tabitha's bracelet. It suggests time travel pretty strongly. We even have Jade when he walks into the bar. He's like, "It's a paradox."
Right.
He's like, "It's a paradox," and then he mentions other paradoxes as well, right? And like theoretical physics and stuff like that. So I think time travel is a likely thing here. Sorry to interrupt you, Anthony.
Well, here's where I struggle with a lot of theories is, I used to say this about Marvel, right? Marvel used to be a big thing. Everybody used to have theories about what was going to happen or why things would happen. And I used to just have arguments with people and be like, they're not that smart, right? Like, I wish they were that smart and I wish they were that clever. But a lot of times for Marvel anyway, they were thinking on their feet, right? They would have an idea, they would throw things at the wall, and then they would borrow and grab what they wanted when it was time to do something new. And they admitted to that. It burst a lot of people's bubbles, especially because they thought Marvel was so meticulous with their planning, but they weren't. I try to study what I've seen in television before, and I try to really look at John Griffin and his other works, right? Like he had that movie Crater, He's got another project upcoming as well. And I try to get a sense of what and how he writes. What I can say about John is that he's like a Tarantino. He borrows from all of his favorite things.
Okay.
A little bit of Wes Craven, a little bit of, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, a little bit of Aliens, a little bit of everything. I don't know how meticulous he is with this show. I think he is aware of his audience. And I think he knows that we have fun theorizing. So I sometimes believe he'll leave misdirects for us.
Okay, I see what you mean. Just to stir up conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? I have to disagree. I actually disagree with you. I think they do misdirect. I think they do misdirect, but I think their misdirects are clues to other things.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a red herring, but the red herring is actually a clue for something else, if that makes sense.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not going to disagree with that. I look at it like, yes, but also, like, think about this, right? From is a TV show on MGM Plus, right? How many people subscribe to MGM Plus before this show? Raise your hand.
I mean, I literally can't because I live in the UK. I literally can't. So I can't put my hand on somebody.
What channel does it come on there?
It's on Sky.
On Sky. Oh, that's kind of. So here in the US, it's on a very niche channel. Amazon doesn't promote it direct. There are no commercials. There are no movie posters. There are no bus ads. They don't have the benefit of traditional marketing. So part of me thinks that John is clever enough to know word of mouth can help. One thing that I kept asking people, and I've asked every cast member, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is why is this show called From?
Because they're all from different places?
That's a good one, but some people think it's an acronym. Some people think it's the meaning of something. I've gone from Catalina to not Ian, to Ricky to even Harold, and nobody knows why the show's called From. They told me
only John Griffin does.
Only John Griffin does.
Okay.
So, and I think obviously Jeff Pinkner and Jack Bender, they know pretty much everything John does.
I hope so.
But they don't. I don't think they hold it in their head the same way he does. I think he. Did you know this, Anthony? In their last interview at Comic-Con, they were asked. Do you have walls with to help you keep the story straight? And they said this. They said, we have walls upon walls upon walls, and even imaginary walls. As in stuff they would like to do if they get the seasons to do it. And I'm pretty sure that, look, John Griffin has been working on this show since 9/11. It is his magnum opus. This guy it's the first TV series he's ever had made, and he's been working on it for more than 20 years. It's deep. It's deep. And by the way, this TV show got its start on YouTube Red, and then MGM picked it up. I think it was on YouTube Red because it was like it's like a social experiment, this show. I believe that there are enough clues that they've left for someone to predict the entire ending of the series, literally an entire season's worth of events, if not more, just using clues that they've hidden in the dialogue and the background and and direct clues, direct references.
Okay.
So I think it's deep. I think it's crazy, crazy deep. And they've done interviews where they've said there are clues all along the way for people to guess it. And they said some people will guess it, but most will not. So they actually expect people to solve it.
So let me take this off the screen. So I've been meaning to share some of this stuff. I don't have a lot of what happened at the San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm glad you brought it up. I did want to share some of my clips with the audience a while ago. So one thing was someone asked them, what does from mean to you? And I just got very enamored by his answer.
Okay.
I remember this.
You
It's a good
remember
answer.
this? Okay.
It's a good answer. Oh, we can't hear it, man.
You can't hear it?
No.
Okay. 1 second.
I'll tell you what, while you work on that, I'll very briefly give my answer to why I think the show is called From.
Go.
I think the show is called From because From is the story of the origins of the world's mythical and religious stories and their cyclical nature, the archetypal characters that feature within these stories, and it's all told through the lens of North American history and the island of Newfoundland.
Why I named.
Sorry.
It's okay. Story, and as well as the canon of Western historical creators involved in the evolution of literature, art, science, music, and philosophy. So it's basically when the final season of From airs, it will be about the origin of all of our stories and how they all have similarities between them. It's basically it's a very Jungian concept as far as I understand. I think it's like it's about the collective human unconscious. So it's like we all have it's so weird, like the story of Snow White, there's like a version of it told in like Iranian mythology, and it's almost identical. You know, the story of like Christmas traditions in Iran are almost identical to Christmas traditions in Germany, even though they're completely unrelated from a like historical and cultural standpoint. You know, fairies in Irish mythology supposedly had their origin in Iranian. Sorry, I keep using Iran as an example. But it's about the collective. It's about like in the origin story. I think there's going to be about 12 different medieval Christmas, Easter, and Lent celebrations, and we're going to see them all together. And I think a huge portion of the clues on the show is like the pancakes, the pea references, like peas. They're references to Nicanen Night, a type of Cornish Christmas tradition. There's all sorts of references to Christmas and Lent traditions. Anyway, sorry, I talked again too long. Apologies, I get too excited. Please play your clip.
I never get too into why I named the show From because I feel like it means something different to everybody. What I've always said is just that like the word from has always been a very loaded.
Oh, is that my whole clip? No.
Well, I think he said, if I can finish that off, I think he said something along the lines of from means something different to everyone, but it will eventually come out, sort of thing. I think that was kind of what he said.
Yeah. He ends it off by saying, and shit's about to go off. But that to me, like when he said, I never gave a lot of thought to why it was, you know, from. It made me wonder how much of that was in his original plan, right? So that's why I'm like, I feel like he is adapting things on the fly. I believe that he's been working on this concept since, you know, for 20 years or so. But I think as every season evolves, he's adapting his story. He's borrowing elements, he's cutting something, and he's making it fit for TV. Again, I don't think anybody's out wrong, right? Like I'm not gonna knock because I can't disprove it, but I'm just going based off of me. Like I'm putting my critic hat on. I'm looking at how I traditionally see television shows adapted or presented. One thing a lot of the writers try to do is, especially in North America, is you have to dumb it down, right? Like we're not that smart. We're really not that. So a lot of television shows are afraid to take risks on being too challenging for the layman to follow. If it gets too complicated, too convoluted, you have to get notes together to figure it out. It's not going to last, right? I love Lost. It felt like it was the exception. and it got convoluted. That went off the rails. I love Wayward Pines. I thought it was a good start. We didn't see that story finish. I love Under the Dome's first season. And then that show went off the rails because actually I don't know why that show got so bad. It had potential, but it makes me apprehensive to fully commit to the idea that this show is going to go a super complicated route. Does that make sense? Or am I just...
No, I mean, look, it makes total sense. I mean, what can I say? I've tried to solve this mystery, and the end theory that I've come out with at the end of a year of study of the show is 19,000 words of pure prediction, and it's absolutely nuts.
Love it.
It sounds like a fever dream, but I genuinely believe that I'm like maybe 60% correct, maybe 70%.
And this is why I love your theory. This is why I love your theory, because as fun as the show is, I think it's almost just as fun to meet up together and exchange theories, right? We formed such a well-respected, tight-knit community based off of just this show. I love that aspect that comes with it, right? And this is why I really love your theory, because I'm like, damn, this motherfucker might be right. But also it gets us all together. It gets us all thinking. You see, I'm looking at the comments on my other screen, and they're like frothing at the mouth. So I really love your theory. I can't disprove anything. And then I'm gonna shut up.
I'm so I guess I'm very excited to, because I thought, okay, they put some tarot cards on the show. I obviously, the tarot card theory is pretty big. They make some references that I thought were pretty much speaking to the audience about, open your minds up, basically, to tarot cards. That's what they're saying. That's what that whole conversation with Fatima was about. If you want to really, if you want to just leave aside the fact that I have this theory, I think generally, whether the showrunners have seen it or not, I think generally speaking, what they're saying to people is be a bit more open-minded. There's a lot of crazy stuff on this show. If there's a theory around tarot cards, maybe you should pay attention. That's what I think they're saying. But I also think it's easily ignored. It's just like, oh, they're just doing some fan service. They know the tarot, that crazy guy Taran has a crazy tarot theory, and they're just giving him a little nod, say, hey, Taran, and that's it. That and some people are saying that's what it is. I mean, that's Tony Teflon's opinion. He's still stuck on that alien science-based situation, and that's fine. I like aliens, but that's his perspective, and other people will have that perspective. But I'm very curious if there's any of that historical stuff that I listed. If any of that comes to pass, I'm going to be so excited, because then it's like proven fact. Historical figures are being referenced on this show. Like, if there was one just last episode, the most obvious one I've seen so far. Super, super obvious. Do you remember when Boyd and Christy are talking next to the sort of empty swimming
motel
pool?
sign by the pool.
Yeah, and then they reference the two people who drove that car. Do you remember what they were?
I don't remember the names.
I don't remember the names either.
I'll find it in a second.
It's in my notes.
1864. It's wait. Oh no, it's in the Revolutionary War time. It was Danny and Shay.
Yeah.
Danny and Shay. Yep.
Now, I believe that that's a clue to a Revolutionary War hero called Daniel Shay. And I think that he's going to show up in the Revolutionary War timeline, along with George Washington and half the founding fathers, like New Hope. So, isn't it interesting that Sarah references New Hope?
Do you think it's actual time travel, or do you think we're going to see those periods of time?
I think time travel is guaranteed because of the bracelet. And a lot of clues that I'm seeing. I'm seeing a crazy amount of clues that Eloise is Tabitha. I'm basically now of a very strong opinion that what happens is Jim time travels to 1978. He gives his bracelet to Miranda. Miranda dies by the tree. Eloise collects her bracelet or rips the bracelet off as she's falling through the tree. Either way, she ends up with the bracelet. Jim finds her, takes her to the real world. When they come out the other side, it's 15 years in the future, 1990, something around then. And Jim's like, oh my God, I've just found out that Eloise is Tabitha. She's a little 8-year-old child, and I'm in my, mid-30s, and I need to drop off Tabitha with her parents, and then they adopt her and stuff. That's my current thinking on that's how the bootstrap paradox works. And then Tabitha makes the bracelet that she had as a child for Jim, and it's like which is the original? She's copying the very same bracelet that she made. How did that bracelet come to be if it's always being copied? That's a bootstrap paradox, right? So it has to be Tabitha copied her bracelet from somewhere. Basically, she needs to copy her own bracelet for a bootstrap paradox to work. And the only way that the bracelet reaches Tabitha means that Eloise and Tabitha are either the same person or they're extremely closely related. It's either Tabitha's mom or Tabitha, basically. Now that we've had Tabitha's mom, I don't think it's Tabitha's mom anymore. I think it's Tabitha. And do you mind if I share my screen quickly? I just want to show you an image, if that's okay.
Sure. This one?
Yeah. So look, here's Jim, I think, in Eloise's drawing, this guy with long hair. They show they actually show only half of him in one scene and then the other half in another, as if to draw our attention to this. And it's a guy with long hair. I think that's Jim. And then here's a really interesting framing here. So isn't it interesting that Tabitha has this wooden door frame around her, and then right next to her is this wooden framed picture, and a whole bunch of isn't it like she's part of the family photos there, almost like she's framed within that set of pictures, as if she's related to them in some way, if she isn't one of them already?
Almost, because where did she get that jacket from?
I think when her and Julia are doing clothes in the barn, they're sorting through clothes, and then she sees the children white for the first time. That might be when she collects it.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was something she collected when she was preparing to leave and Victor made it a lunchbox. I know she was staying at Mrs. Lou's house, so I just wasn't sure. A lot of people call attention to her jacket for that reason, and they always pointed out. They also pointed out how it's tattered on the same side as Boyd's jacket. So I'm watching a lot of different theories, and I'm not trying to disprove this one, but the one thing that I will say is she does favor Eloise.
She does favor Eloise. What does that mean?
In that painting, in that photo right there.
Oh yeah.
She does.
Yeah. I mean, look, in my theory, here's the biggest problem with this theory, to be honest.
Okay.
Would you recognize a picture of yourself as a child?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
some people still look like themselves. You see what I'm saying? Like you can still see themselves as a child in their adult faces. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I wanted to know. I asked you a question. I that's the problem here. Why would Tabitha not recognize herself in the photos? Now we don't see her examining them. We don't see her looking at them. Okay, so that's one excuse the writers could use why she didn't recognize herself. But here's another theory. So remember, Abby doesn't remember her time in Fromland. Okay, she remembers it as dreams. She was there as a child. She's a little blonde girl, in my opinion. Okay, Bacta's grandmother remembers the nursery rhyme, but she doesn't seem to remember Fromland, or she would have told them about it. So Bacta knows the nursery rhyme, but maybe from dreams as well. Victor has his entire memories completely fragmented, and people are like, oh, he's been traumatized and he's been alone for so long. This is just like a natural thing. I actually think no, it's actually part of like the system here. When people leave and return to the real world, I think their memories are taken. I don't think George Washington came to Fromland, came back with all his memories and did everything he did and never told it. Like all these historical figures that I think are coming up, they all went to Fromland and none of them ever wrote about it and never said anything. I think your mind gets wiped when you return to the real world. And I think Eloise, she escapes when he doesn't want her to. And I think that her memories are scrambled. Like, she is completely messed up for years after she comes back. And by the time Tabitha starts to be able to retain memories properly, maybe she's a teenager at that point, doesn't really remember what she looked like as an 8-year-old girl. And maybe Jim gives her to her parents. Maybe there's some Colombians who can't conceive. Jim's like, oh my God, I got this little girl. Well, I know in my timeline, she's raised by these Colombians. So he looks them up, drops off Tabitha with a note. That's why Jim says your parents, you thought that the parents were gonna hate me, but they actually surprisingly liked me. That's a huge Chekhov's gun. What if Jim leaves Tabitha, memory-free Tabitha, Eloise, right? And he writes a note saying, this is Tabitha. Someday in the future, a man named Jim will need your help. Be nice to him. Take care of this girl. And then they recognize that Jim.
But two things. One, Tabitha's Latina.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tabitha's Latina.
She called her mom. They spoke Spanish, I thought, for a second.
Yeah, they did.
She is Latina. And
yes, but if she's raised if she has no memories, completely no memories, basically can't talk.
But Henry would recognize her.
But she's 15 years younger than she's supposed to be. And he hasn't seen her since she was 8. I don't think so, man.
Like, I have kids, right? I have a 21-year-old and I have a 16-year-old about to be 15-year-old. I know I'm older than I look. But you always see things in your child's face that stick with you. Even if I hadn't seen my son as a baby, I would see something, right? There's always
but he gave them up for dead. Why would he thinks that Eloise is dead? He's thought she's dead for over 40 years.
But he never gave her hope.
Right.
No. He said he didn't say that.
Reconciled that they were dead. He said I reconciled that I had to let them go.
Right.
But he's still living by himself. He's still driving the car from the 70s. He's still a man stuck in time.
Yeah.
Right.
The room is the same. He still has the bracelet from his wife. He still has all of her paintings, the tree. He is stuck in that house is a shrine to his family so that he can, if they come back, they can see that nothing has changed for him. He's been waiting for them to come home. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's a lot of.
Look, you may be right. I think there's enough plausible deniability to get away with it. Personally, I think if she's 15 years younger than she's supposed to be, she's got a thick Colombian accent, and she shows up on his doorstep, and he's already accepted that Eloise has died, and he hasn't seen her since she was 8 years old. I think there's a sufficient plausible deniability there for him to not recognize her. 15 years younger than she's supposed to be, with a Colombian accent. I don't know, man. I just think you could get away with it. You could get away with it.
And as for her being I'm gonna throw it to the comments.
Yeah, no one's gonna agree with me here. I'm sure.
Also, Tabby came from and was brought back into like the regular world. So you're saying when they come out of the town that they forget when they go back to the real world because she remembered everything. Because
she was sent to the real world on purpose by the bad guys for a reason.
Okay.
Which is probably to collect Henry or something like that. I don't know exactly why they've sent her, but they sent her out and then they brought her back.
That's true. You're right.
Even it may be that Eloise escaped with the boogeyman's permission, but he steals all her memories.
You think
I don't know how it works.
Evil?
I actually think he's conflicted. So I think everyone, if we meet someone in white and their clothes are nice and clean, they're on the bad guy team because they get to, live a nice life. They don't need to live in the woods all dirty and horrible. Okay. So I think when they've got clean clothes, they're a ghost on the bad team who get to live a nice, ghost situation. And so they're all clean. And I actually think that this kid he's the ghost of a child, basically, who died in the 1500s version of Fromland. And he's the son of the witch who created the story, and he's kept from her.
1500s?
Yeah, 1503, I think, is when this curse started.
Why do you think it's that time period?
Because I am 99.9% certain that the origin story of From, not the main origin, not like the origin of the beings, but the origin of Fromland itself.
Okay.
I think that it originates on John Cabot's Lost Expedition of 1498 to Newfoundland.
I agree. I agree with that.
It's got to be. It's literally got to be. I found I've literally got something like 60 historical figures from that time period being referenced, but with clues on the show.
Okay.
It's no doubt in my mind that it starts there. And as far as my understanding is that the curse, the witch's bottle that keeps Fromland is broken in 1503, and that is why it's able to take people from the real world. So my understanding is that the bottle gets broken in 1503 by a man called Gaspar Corte Real, who is the next person to visit Newfoundland after John Cabot, and he kidnapped a whole bunch of indigenous people, and some of the objects that are used in the spell somehow end up in Portugal, according to history, like a sword and some earrings. So they obviously plundered that bottle, plundered that spell, which is made with all sorts of artifacts. Sorry, I'm going too deep. You haven't read my theory, so you won't know what any of this means. But basically, I believe that there's this Portuguese conquistador who visited Newfoundland and messed with the curse. And that's why I have to date it to around between 1499 and 1502.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I go ahead, yes.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I agree that it started at that time. I agree that it started during that expedition. I'm not sure about the boy in white. I don't know if he's like somewhat conflicted. Like Sarah,
He
I think
wants
is
to be
conflicted.
good, I think. He wants to be good, but he's constantly being watched by this dog. That's what I think. He's like bodyguarding him. He's keeping an eye on him. That's what I think.
So
Sorry to interrupt you.
no, so I kind of put this theory out there that I do think that there are multiple entities, and I do agree that there are two opposing entities, one light, one dark. We've seen two dogs, right?
Right.
We've seen two dogs in this show. We've only ever seen the second dog once. And when we saw that dog, the two dogs were barking at each other. And that didn't stop until like Victor shot a gun in the sky.
I think one of them's the boy in white, by the way.
I think he's at least aligned with the boy in white. Now,
Right.
at first for a while, I thought he was the boy in white too, but I honestly just don't have enough evidence to support that. But if he's not the boy in white directly, then he's an agent with the boy in white. We have seen them together. We have seen them in the same place. That was when young Victor came out of the cellar. You know, he had that moment where he saw all the bodies slaughtered, and the dog and the boy in white were there. And as soon as the dog ran away, the boy in white went to the merry-go-round and decided to ask Victor to come play with him. So that to me just gave me enough reasonable doubt to at least say maybe they're not the same. Maybe one's the agent for another. Oh, you got a tarot card for us.
Two dogs and a moon.
Yep.
I don't know if you noticed this, but when that girl Kelly has a rod through her head,
Right.
there's in between scenes, there's like a little moon symbol sort of carved in the tree, and then it disappears in the next scene, and it looks like it's been filled in with like brown paste to make it blend in, but you can still see the outline of it. A lot of people disagreed with me and said that I was seeing things, but there's so much moon and sun symbology on this show that the moon and the sun tarot card are clearly part of opposing forces here. And so I think the moon card is possibly that dog. He's like one of the beings, and he's keeping an eye on the boy in white, and he's like leading Boyd the wrong way multiple times. Like I think Boyd finds that hut by accident, not because the dog led him there. The dog actually just gets him lost, and then Boyd stumbles across.
Wasn't Boyd lost in the wood one night as well, and then the dog led him back to town?
So no, he was
because he's got.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say he was looking in the woods. This was like the night before his wife shot everybody in town. He was on another search, and he saw the dog, and like he was marking the trees, making sure that he wasn't lost, so that way he could find his way back. But then that's when he saw the dog in the woods, and then disappeared, like ran off with him, and didn't remember where he was. And then he started turning himself around, trying to figure out where he was, and then he got lost. And then that's where he was like, "Oh, it's dark, you know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to do now? So he starts stumbling, and then that's when we see him. Eventually, it gets dark outside. He's stumbling in the woods, looking around because he hears things happening, and then he stumbles in, turns around because he hears a the screeching like near him, and he falls into the hut by accident. Yeah. And then all of the creatures surround on the outside, and then they were like saying something to him. I can't remember. They were like, I don't know, like come on out or something like that. And he stayed in the hut and saw all of the little rocks, you know what I'm saying, positioned, and that's basically how he figured out like, maybe these things are our answer, our key to, this is what I've been maybe looking for out in the woods.
It feels like the light entities are indirectly leading Boyd, right? Yeah. It's not like they're going to, draw him a map and say, go here, right? They're going to lead him in a direction, and he has to figure some stuff out on his own. The boy in white helped Boyd go into that tree at the end of season 1.
But did that help Boyd really, or did it end up? I mean, what really happened? What was the consequence of Boyd going in that prison? He gets a worm curse, almost gets possessed, brings a cicada curse back to town, and even him and Donna have a discussion where she's like, "You brought that back to town," and he's like, "Yeah, I brought it back to town. It went wrong."
But
I think the boy in white wanted him to free Boyd.
The boy in white said right before he pushed Tabitha out the window, "This is the only way."
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the conflicted side potentially, or maybe he's forced to do it. We don't know.
He had to confront this cicada creature. I think Boyd needs to confront him. Right. Boyd was in a situation seemingly where he might have been in danger. It sounded like during that time that like something might have been behind him. I figured if there was like a siren or a loud noise when they were out there in the rain, and the boy in white was like, "Get in there quick," I don't think Boyd was prepared to handle whatever was out there. That was right after he encountered the spiders. I think that in order for Boyd to actually succeed in what he's doing, he had to confront the cicada creature. This had to happen. He had to go to Martin. He had to kill Smiley. And I feel like that this is a method to propel Boyd to his next level. One thing that I have felt is consistent with Boyd is that he's constantly leveling up. Anytime somebody goes into the forest, they come back with something that helps.
Yep.
This might have been something that will help them in the long run.
I mean, I am excited so I believe in episode like 7 or 8, according to the descriptions on Rotten Tomatoes, that Jade finds some sort of ruin in the woods. And then later, I think it's suggested, it's not like, it's suggested that Ethan and Julie then go to the ruin somehow afterwards.
That would be great.
Now, if that ruin is a tomb of any kind, then for me, that will confirm that the layout of Fromland is based on the board game called The Game of Goose. Which is what
you can't just drop that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to elaborate on that one a little bit more.
Okay, so there's a board game, a medieval board game. Remember how I was talking about tarot cards and how they're the medieval playing cards? Well, in medieval times, they also had board games that don't exist or aren't popular today. And they're sort of the precursors to our modern day games. So like Game of Goose is a little bit like the Game of Life that we have now. Okay. It's a racing game. Again, this is why Tilly talks about going to the racetrack, because it's on a racetrack sort of thing. And the tiles, instead of being squares, they're eggs. And so that's why we have all these egg references on the show, right? And guess what the hazards are? So sometimes you'll go on the wrong tile and something bad will happen, right? Your game piece will something wrong will happen. So do you know what the hazards are? The hazards are the well, and isn't it interesting that Boyd gets trapped down a well? The prison, and isn't it interesting that we get that there's a prison right above? There's also the bridge, so I think we'll see a bridge later, a tomb, but then also the hotel. And isn't it interesting that there's a sign for a hotel, but no hotel there, as if the whole street, the whole town is the hotel hazard tile. And then there's the labyrinth. And isn't it interesting that the cave system is like a labyrinth, and Jade even uses a thread as if he's about to go into the Minotaur's labyrinth. So these are the hazards of the Game of Goose board game. So I think that Fromland is laid out like this board game in much the same way that the characters are these tarot card archetypes. So and much like that Crokinole board, you know, the Crokinole board that we see in the background, that giant sort of octagon with like 12 different board games on it. That's actually what Fromland looks like. It's a giant board game table that was created by the people marooned in Newfoundland to pass the time. And it's all these medieval board games, and it's double-sided. And one side is like a Canadian Fromland, and one side is an American sort of mirrored American Fromland. So on the Canadian side, as far as I can tell, they're playing a game called Chaturaji, which is like the ancient precursor to chess. It's a 4-player chess game. That's where some of the elephant references on the show are coming from, because one of the game pieces is an elephant, and then the other's a ship, the other's a horse, and the other's a boat. No, ship, horse, king, and elephant. Those are the 4, other than pawns, those are the 4 like main pieces that each player has. Sorry, again, I talk too long. I apologize. I get super excited when I talk about this stuff.
You know,
yeah.
It's not every day that we get to hear from this from an actual writer. So thank you. You know, it gives us insight into the way you think, right? The way you critically analyze these things. You know, you're trying to reverse engineer John's writing. So I love that. This game looks so familiar. It feels like something that haunted me in kindergarten.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's actually like the premier board game for a long time in medieval Europe. Super interesting. And they actually banned it because people were gambling too much, which is kind of funny. So it was like a gambling game as well.
Okay.
And the other game I think that they're playing is Pachisi. It's an Indian board game that also existed at this time. And Pachisi is a game where there's 4 teams of 4 different colors, and there's a central home tower that when you arrive at it, your piece goes home, kind of like Tabitha getting to go back home when she reaches the top of the tower. And what's also interesting is that there are 12 safe tiles in the game, just like there's 12 talismans, where if your piece is next to one of these tiles, they're safe and they can't be taken by the opponent. So I think the 12 talismans are these 12 castle tiles in the game of Pachisi, and they're clearly being used to protect each house. That's what I think is going on here potentially. Sorry again, this is all completely new to you guys. You've never researched this or anything, so it just sounds like random craziness, and you know, it doesn't mean much to you. But I just sharing it with you. It's what I think is going on. Sorry for battling on.
The commenters are excited. They're like, man, this is more like a panel. They're not even talking to us. So here's what I want to do. I want to give the commenters an opportunity to ask some questions as well, right? This was a great opportunity to get some information from you. We got to let them pick your brain too and see if we can chime in with some answers as well. So for everyone that's still with us, please let us know if you have any questions about this theory, if there's anything that we're not addressing, anything that you want us to touch on that we haven't touched on. Let us know in the comments. I definitely want to make sure that you guys are feeling seen.
And I would love to hear from Yas as well. I would love to hear what you think is going on on the show right now. And look, I know you're new to the show, but I just find it fascinating for someone who's done like no theory crafting just yet. You know, you're just getting into it. You know, what's your initial impressions? Because I'm lost. You know, I'm like 3 years ago. I've been theorizing for so long. I don't get to watch this show like someone like you does. So I'm almost jealous of you. So I'd love to hear what you're thinking and what's going on in your head.
I feel like this show has so many layers to it that, like, you know, it's one of those shows that you have to watch it and then go back and rewatch it. So that way you can kind of deep dive into all of the things, you know, and maybe watch it again, you know what I'm saying? Because it's one of those things where you can't figure everything out watching it the first time. You miss things. And when you rewatch it, you really like, I rewatched some of the episodes. I think like the first season of the episodes, like last week, I had a couple of like, you know, days that I could rewatch a couple of them. And I was like, wow, I totally missed that. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Just certain little things that like kind of, carry on, and you see them in the second season. Now going into the third season, I'm starting to notice little things. So it's just, this show is one of those shows where the layers are a big thing for me, and I'm still kind of piecing everything together. Like Anthony said, I'm still new to this. I think it's been like maybe, I don't know, a week. You guys got, wasn't it last week? We were just like kind of talking about this, and then you guys kind of like, persuaded me to start watching it. And I took see, I have this this giant fear of zombies, so I won't watch anything that has anything to do with zombies in it. And for the longest time, I was hearing conflicted things about the monsters. So I couldn't watch the show, but now that I'm watching it, I'm trying to figure out everything that, and catch up, because the chats have been going on, like you said, Taran, for years now, and I'm just joining the train. So I don't know. I think everything's going to be more. I think Donna, definitely there's something going on with Donna, because she's also been there 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like Victor, Donna, I think there's definitely like some underlying, like you said, they're possessed in some kind of way because they've been there for so long. So there's something going on with them. Like the darkness somehow got to them, and that's why they've stayed alive, because everybody else has died somehow. You know what I'm saying? Doing some type of thing. So something has to go a certain way in order for Victor to have lived by himself for being a child so long in this town. So I definitely think that in itself is really, really interesting, because when did all these people, like, how old was Victor when everyone started to come to the town and like actually live? That's another question of mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, when did Donna even meet Victor? Like, how old was he? Like, obviously it was 3 years ago. Victor's a grown man. We know that her sister died 3 years, 3 months, and 16 days from that time period. But at the same point in time, how long has Victor been around actual people that have stayed? Dale is another person who's been there for a long time. And we don't even know how long Dale has been there for. And this dude, he I'm not gonna lie, he is one of my like characters that I'm closely watching now, because there's some deep underlining things going on with Dale and his skepticism with everything. He questions everybody. He doesn't like what anybody's doing ever, and he is just a sketchy individual being, I think, in itself. And I have a lot of questions about Dale, and I'm watching him. So I think that this show definitely, I mean, it's just certain people, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have so many questions about how long they've been there, and they haven't answered them. For example,
No.
how long has Kenny been there? How long have his mom and his parents been
So
there?
some people they did answer. I think Boyd's been there for a year and a half.
Okay. Fatima's been there a year now. We know that because we had the party that ended in disaster.
I want to say Kenny came sometime after Boyd.
Okay. Okay, so not much. So it's in between a year and a half, apparently, in between that time.
We get the flashback, don't we, when they move him into the clinic?
Yeah.
Right. We get and Boyd's already there. Seems like they've kind of just arrived.
Right.
So and Boyd's already the sheriff at this point, and the town is safe. He's already got the talismans. So I imagine it's not long after Fatima, probably.
Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense for timeline wise. So yeah, they didn't answer a lot of questions for me, and that's where I'm still kind of deep diving into things. Is like, wait a minute, why only certain people as well get to see certain things? Like, for instance, Jade has been hallucinating since the day he got there, literally. And why is that? No one else, you know what I'm saying? Him and Tabitha have been the only two, technically. I mean, and Boyd, because now we know he's talking to Father Khatri like he's in the room with him, and, they're hanging out and stuff and arguing with him like he's going crazy. So I have so many questions about, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is going on with that? And also, who keeps calling Jim? Who keeps talking to Jim? And why are they watching Jim and Tabitha so closely? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that all of these little clues and tidbits are all leading into where we're going to be at the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? Because Tabitha, we did see, holy shit, she saw the tree again, and now she's with Victor's dad. He gets to be reunited with his dad. This will be the second time in history of the town that people got to reunite with their loved ones somehow in town. Muriel and Christy are the first, and then now it'll be Victor and his dad, which there's got to be significant reasons why these specific people to these specific, you know what I'm saying? And like why their significant others ended up back. Like Christy, there's a reason why Christy ended up there. And now it's even crazier that like she was the only doctor and now we have paramedics. Now, you know what I'm saying? We have more able bodies to kind of help. What's going to happen next? Like that's the first thing I thought when I saw the end of the last episode was now we have paramedics and more medical services. What's going to happen next now? Because
they're dead. They might as well be red shirts.
You can only have one doctor.
No way.
You can only have one healer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, just think about it. All right, our first season. What happened to the other nurse? She didn't.
Yeah, she got.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, she didn't. Yeah. Like it was, So, and that's where I'm getting at is like, what is going to happen in this? Like these next few episodes. I feel like we really need to pay attention and like rewatch because some shit is about to happen that we're gonna see, but we're not going to see because we're so focused on the main attraction. So I think that this show is definitely trying to tease us like with this last episode for sure.
I think you may be completely right. I think that as we watch the show for season 3, we're not going to get as many answers as we think because, Elizabeth Saunders did an interview recently on a channel that's not watched by many people, but I really enjoy, and they have really good relationships with a lot of the actors, and they get really exclusive long-form interviews. Okay. And I think they're called What Is Fromcast.
Okay.
Definitely worth watching some of their interviews because the actors, they know that not many people watch their show. It's usually like 40 views, 50 views sort of thing. So they are quite a bit more open about things while they're on there.
Interesting.
And one thing, I may be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure that she said, John Griffin always said to me, and remember, Liz Saunders is like one of the 2 big budget actors that they could hire, outside of Harold.
Right.
Liz Saunders, so she knows a lot as well. And she said that John Griffin always told me that From is a TV series that gets really good after season 3. So, and I think that means that that's when the answers are going to start coming thick and fast. Season 4, boom, time travel, 6 separate timelines, and a major flashback. That's
so
what
do
I'm
we
predicting.
know? Sorry, do we know how many seasons we're supposed to get completely of the show?
Everyone's been saying 5. But I actually think that's a rumor that was made up by someone and then everyone believed it. I personally think it's 6 minimum because Christy and Kenny, they discuss chapter 6 of that book. And then, and in the discussion, they say, do you think it's going to have a happy ending? And she's like, I don't know. I think maybe, or something like that. So they're talking about chapter 6 and then they're talking about the ending of the book. I thought that might suggest that it's going to be a 6-season show. I think it just has to be 6 seasons because in my predictions, it will require at least 3 seasons worth of content to cover it all. So I may be completely wrong or whatever, but I think it has to be 6.
Anthony, do you have
consensus is 5.
I vaguely remember, it might have been with AFCA. With Gil Robertson, the chair of the African American Film Critics Association. He had an interview with John and with Harold and with Jack. He didn't invite me, but he had an interview with them. And I think I remember John saying something like he had a plan for 5 and potentially 6. Okay. But if the show only made it to 4, he figured out a way to wrap it up there. And and it implied to me in my mind that he's going to know when his final season is, right?
Yeah.
So I think 100%. He's going to have a little bit of notice when, if the show is not going to be renewed. So he knows to start closing out the storylines. But he does have a plan to not leave us hanging.
Okay.
We just missold ourselves completely, didn't we? We just said, everyone ask your questions and we're going to answer them.
Well, no, there's a question up. There's a question up. So Michael has one for me. Anthony, if you want me to take this real quick. All right, so Michael Lamont asked me, what do I think about the bracelet? I think the bracelet, it has to be some type of time travel, device. It has to be, because there's no other way for it to have traveled where it has traveled, especially with it being lost and then found. how did it end up inside of the glove box? That was my biggest question when she opened that glove box, and I was like, no way, the bracelet. Like that was I had to pause, and I was like, that is the bracelet. She just gave it back to Jim literally like 2 episodes ago. Like how is it there? So I think that maybe we'll find out obviously later on, why is it so significant for the specific bracelet? But Taran, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't fully agree with your theory that, she is Victor's little sister, that, that I don't think that I just only
it
because
requires so much.
Well,
so
not even
much,
that.
so many
Not
things.
even that. But like, I'm sorry. Your kin. There's just some under. I'm being serious, okay? Like the first time you'll hold, you know what I'm saying, as your kids. It's this underlying bond. You're.
It's impressed.
It is. It's ridiculous. Like even someone like, for instance, let's say, I know somebody that basically didn't get grew up without seeing their father. They got to see their father and he's seen pictures of them, but like now that they're 12, 13 years old, they're finally getting to live with their dad and see them. And like, it's the characteristics, the things that you do that you don't even realize that are the exact, you know what I'm saying? It's the same similarities. It's your genes, it's your DNA. Like I'm telling you, it's the way you scratch your nose, or you know what I'm saying? It's the way you move your hair. It's little things. He would have known that was his child, especially if he's been waiting for her to walk through that door again with or without her sibling and her mom. I'm telling you, he would have known that was his daughter.
But he's expecting a 55-year-old woman, not a 35-year-old woman or a 39-year-old woman.
So here's another
that's a big difference, is all I'm saying.
And this
also,
isn't
sorry,
not to disprove or prove anything, but she found the bracelet, right? Henry was like, oh, Miranda made that for me. It doesn't explain why his song with his wife was the same song as Jim's song with Tabitha.
Right.
Blue.
Unless Tabitha subconsciously remembers that song from her childhood playing over and over again from being stuck in that car. And remember, there's drawings.
Explain it for her.
There's kids' drawings on the front.
Their song, right? Like that was their wedding or like their
but
song.
Tabitha would connect to it and make it their song because she remembers it from her childhood, right? I mean, look, from a logical standpoint, that's a way it could make sense. Can you explain another way that it might make sense? That is one way that it might make sense. That still works with the theory.
I only struggle with it because, like, I have songs I associate with my mom, right? Whitney Houston, love her. She plays, I think of my mom. I don't think of my wife. Right? Like, I never thought to make Whitney Houston my wife's song. Like, we have our song. It's like Mary J. and Method Man. I just never thought to project something that like when we grow up, when we go through puberty, we go through adolescence. One of the things that we start to do as humans is that we start to move away what our parents liked and their taste in music, and we start to develop our own. Like that was the age I started listening to, Biggie Smalls and Tupac and less, Buju Banton and Whitney Houston. So
let me ask you this: why does Tabitha say, "I remember these" when she picks up Victor's crayon pencil case?
Because they were things that happened in the 70s or 80s or 90s. Because like even I kind of remember having a pencil with a little rubber thing on the top.
Yeah,
like I used to have toys on my
that's fine, but in film school they teach you never to include random stuff that doesn't. Do you know John Griffin has studied screenwriting for like 40 years straight? He won the Nichols Fellowship for the best screenplay, like the really, really prestigious scholarship and prize. And then he tried to get From made for at least 20 years. I mean, would you include some random thing? I remember these pencil cases. I just think there's so many things that are clues on this show. Why wouldn't that be one?
I think they're trick clues. You know what I'm saying? Like they're in there
that's
to
a fair
kind
comment.
of, you know what I'm saying? Like they're in there. It's like Marvel, how Marvel throws Mephisto around and like he never shows up though. You see what I'm saying? Like it's something to kind of just throw you off of the trail. So that way, like you said, their whole point of this show was because he loves to have us theorize things. He loves the fans to pick up theories and try and pick it up and catch it and run with it. It gives us conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like it joins us communities. So why wouldn't he do something like that for us to run on and then later be like, oh my God, and then all of us talk about it later? You see what I'm saying? It's just it's one of those things where it's like clickbait.
It's the red herring.
Right. He wants us to think it's important, but it's not that important. It's just in there before significant purposes.
Fair enough. Okay.
I
can
think
accept
that
a
there's
red
a
herring.
purpose
I
to
can
it.
accept that as an argument. Yeah.
I think there's a purpose to it, right? Like, so I remember the first time I watched the first the first season of From. One of the first things I did was like, oh, I'm going to be an expert on the show. Let me go on Amazon and buy this book about the Cromanocle. Book don't fucking exist, but it was those finger puppets that Julie and Ethan would use to tell the story of the Cromanocle. So then I started to think about it differently and started to pay closer attention to Ethan. And I started to think, all right, he's using Ethan as a device to reveal what is actually happening in this town through parallel story, right? The Lonely Dragon, the Cromanocle, the cave. You have to get the map that sends you to the sky or something like that. And I started to feel like he was borrowing on elements of our childhood, like those little rubber pencil tops, McDonald's toys, Victor's ketchup toy. I felt like he started to borrow on elements of our childhood, incorporate things that he made up, but also use that as a way to write or introduce the parallels of what is actually happening. Anytime Ethan says something, I pay close attention. He's like, oh, I think this is a quest. I think you need to save someone in order to solve the quest. That's how stories go. And then later we hear about the children locked in the tower.
Right.
So I do think that there is something there with those rubber things. I just don't know specifically what it is, but I've been following along the trail of thought that it's just the parallel.
Look, it could well be. I'm just going to leave you with one more thought because you guys are pretty, you would know your own children, and I totally believe you, and I can accept that. However, I'm going to give you 3 historic examples of children who went missing, and then imposters replaced them, and the parents genuinely believed that they were that child. One, a guy called Nicholas Barkley, 13-year-old boy, disappeared in 1994. In 1997, a literal French adult man, a con artist, claimed to be him. His name was Frederick Bourdin, and they literally made a movie about it called Imposter on Netflix. There's also Anastasia Romanov, obviously the famous Russian princess. Over the years, many women claimed to be her, and one of them was actually believed, a Polish woman. And she was believed, and then later DNA tests were done, and they found that she was not Anastasia, even though she managed to convince the Romanovs. And then perhaps the most famous is Bobby Dunbar, 4-year-old who disappeared. Later, they found another boy who had clearly gotten lost, and they thought it was him. And years later, they did DNA tests on this boy's descendants, and they learned that he was not, in fact, Bobby that entire time. And one more, Paul Fronska, 1964, was kidnapped from a hospital, and then a toddler was found abandoned 2 years later. They believed it was him, and in 2012, they realized that it wasn't. So it does happen. And I'm not saying, look, I get what you're saying, and I totally get that. I'm just saying there's sufficient plausible deniability. It's not about what's likely or whatever. I'm just saying that they can point to those things if anyone complains and say, look, there's been throughout history children that have gone missing, and then imposters have showed up, or misidentified children have showed up, and they didn't recognize them. So I don't know. I think it's possible when someone's 15 years younger than they should be with a Colombian accent, and you think that they're dead, you probably wouldn't recognize them. That's just my opinion.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I can't even disprove that because those all happen.
I mean, Victor, remember, Victor, he doesn't recognize Tabitha, even though he's connected to her. She's the closest person to him in town.
That's
Tabitha
the toughest one for me because they shared a room. But
at the same time, Victor didn't even remember Eloise until literally like the episode that she disappears. And he knows her as Tabitha with a Colombian accent who's not the right age again. So, he's not thinking of her as his sister. And yet they share chocolate, they're together, in this place, and he's going to use this pillow fort. And I'm very curious about when Tabitha makes a mind-bending discovery. Was that this episode, or is that a later episode? But anyway, look, not everyone's going to agree with me. What I'm saying is that there's certainly some mystery.
Right.
There's certainly some sort of mystery with Eloise and the bracelet, and we're going to get to that. And it's got to relate to Tabitha in some way because she made the bracelet. So Eloise and Tabitha are connected, whether they're the same person or whether we're going to meet Eloise later and it turns out she was Tabitha's childhood friend and she copied her bracelet. That could be an answer as well. Just not a very exciting one or an easily predicted one.
I want to get to some of these audience questions. I feel like we only addressed one. Who do we think is the man in yellow?
Go on, yes. I'm sure you got something.
I don't actually. I can't. I'm trying to.
Okay.
I said because I'm trying to think like the man in yellow. When did the man in yellow come in?
So.
All right. Yeah. So go ahead.
The man in yellow was just a painting, I think, in Henry's basement. Is that where it was?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's why it was so brief. I remember that. Okay. Yeah.
But we don't know who it was.
He looks kind of Asian to me.
So you think it's Kenny?
No. I think it's. Look, I only know of one other Chinese character that isn't part of Kenny's family in my theory. Okay, and it's a Chinese fireworks maker from 1498 who did the fireworks for Henry VII. So maybe his ghost becomes the man in yellow somehow. His ghost is possessed by the sun, the fallen angel who represents the sun, who's one of the seven beings. And maybe that's who he is. He's like the sun ghost, the yellow ghost. But that is highly speculative and won't make any sense to you guys. But that's what I got for it.
I don't know for sure, but I was wondering if maybe it could be Christopher after he went crazy and took people out in the town.
Okay. Could maybe be.
But I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure.
We don't have enough context. We definitely don't have enough context for a man in yellow. It's just a guy in a yellow suit. What is it? Is it the mask? Is it from the movie The Mask? I mean, that's literally, the yellow suit means nothing. And he looks a little Chinese, so maybe he's Mr. Liu or something.
It says the man in the yellow.
I think my beard and my long hair preclude me from being the man in yellow. But, I mean, look, if I could get on the show as an extra and be the man in yellow, I would do. John Griffin, if you're watching, you want me to be the man in yellow, I will be the man in yellow.
Yo, we're there.
Yeah.
I'll be the man in black. Will Smith. I'll do it.
I'll fly out there. I'll pay for my own flights. I'll pay for my own hotels. You don't even need to pay me. I want to be on From in the background going, "Hi guys." I want to be that guy who makes the crazy expressions. I don't know if you noticed this in season 2 in the cafe, when Donna pulls a gun and Randall has a gun. There's this extra in the back. He's like pressed himself against the wall, and he's not a professional actor. Probably he's just an extra, and he's literally just like his eyes are so wide. He's doing this. Like, totally overacting. It's so funny, and I want to be that guy. I want to be the one who's making the stupid faces in the background. Who does the dummy belong to? It's pretty clearly Christopher. If you've seen the trailer, I'm sure you guys agree. You can see he's wearing the same clothing. In the trailer and the preview, you can see that he's making the ventriloquist dummy talk. That was one of Tony Teflon's predictions, although I think it's fairly obvious if you have a ventriloquist dummy that's going to speak at some point. But in any case, it's very clear that he's the Christopher vision that Jade sees when the blood comes out of the book. The guy who's manipulating the puppet is wearing the same clothing. So one can assume that Christopher, who made everyone laugh, was a ventriloquist person, potentially.
Okay.
Have I read The Time Traveler's Wife? No, but I've seen the movie.
How about the series?
Is there a series?
I believe there was a HBO series for a while.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen it.
The girl from Game of Thrones who played Ygritte, I think that was her. All right. There's going to be a lot of questions for Taran. You are super popular.
I'll try and be quick because I want to hear Yas's thoughts as well.
Okay, I'm going to ask some questions for everyone. Let me look for
because we're a real contrast. Yes, you know, I'm the one who's probably spent the most time trying to figure this out, and you've spent very little time trying to figure it out because you're new to the show. So I love hearing your thoughts because it's so interesting to see like a very, you know, high level initial impression, like focused, paid attention, but hasn't, you know, done the research. So I'm excited to hear that sort of thing.
Okay,
for sure.
Are you looking for another question?
I am.
Okay, so while you're looking for another question, I actually I have another like, you know, question of mine about the show too. So my biggest question is, why is Sarah so important? You know what I'm saying? Because Sarah is a very interesting character, and how we get to understand that she hears voices, the children's voices, you know what I'm saying? That was very interesting. And them talking through her arm with, you know what I'm saying, like the cuts and stuff like that, and then it just disappeared. And that I have a lot of questions about that and why that doesn't happen anymore ever since she went into the woods with Boyd. Like she hasn't, you see what I'm saying? Like ever since they went into the woods, Sarah has had no connections with any of the magical beings that she used to talk to. And I find that is very, very, very interesting, especially after
it's true.
I told her about, you know, Mr. Sweet and Low, after she had that freak out in the tent and then was like, who is Mr. Sweet and Low? Fish and Low, that's what it was. Yeah. Like Boyd's nickname.
I totally agree with you. And you know what else is also interesting? Sarah's out. Season 3, episode 1. She's outside helping the kids. Like, what are you doing outside there, Sarah? We didn't see Sarah leave. We didn't see her leave.
Oh my gosh, thank you, because I literally was like, Sarah, what the fuck are you doing outside with the mom? And the way she grabbed Ethan and was like, hey, come with me. Like, no. Why are you outside? First of all, like, did you see the animals? Or you're not even helping with the animals, first of all. Like,
and she was so quick. They were just out. It's like she was watching. She was up to look. Okay, whether she was up to no good or not, she was outside potentially. You know, maybe it's also maybe they had it to redeem her and they cut the scene of her seeing them from the window because they had a limited amount of screen time or whatever. But I think it's suspicious. However, I do think that Sarah was targeted by the boogeyman for possession. That's why she has the seizures, just like Ethan has the seizures. Tabitha has a seizure. Jade has a seizure, believe it or not, when he hits his head.
Yeah.
And he gets knocked unconscious. He starts twitching. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it in the rain. He's twitching. So what is that? What does this mean? What does this mean? I think the boogeyman was trying to possess her. So I think, you know how you said it was cuts on the arm?
Yeah.
I've watched that scene multiple times, and it looks similar to the worms on Boyd's arm, in my opinion.
Okay.
Similar enough that you could say they're connected in some way. They're not quite worms, but they're worm-like in their formation. The raised skin, the way that they appear, it looks similar to the animation with the worms. That's all I'm saying. So I think that the boogeyman is able to manipulate people through people who are sensitive in some way, and he's targeted Sarah because she's completely innocent.
Is she?
Has had a very well in the original script anyway. They had her as a very innocent young girl, I believe. And then I think that they aged her up. Like I remember reading the original script.
Like she was
it changed a lot. She was
you have the original script?
Yeah, man, it's publicly available to everyone.
He's been deep diving for years, Anthony. Okay, we're just catching up. Okay.
The clues in the original script, I almost feel like I'm cheating reading it. So I didn't do I read it once. I read it once through, and then I decided that it was unfair because I saw way too many clues in there, and I decided not to read it again. They obviously on this original script, they were using it to sell the show. And then they explained what these clues meant to the people that they were pitching it to afterwards. And some of these clues are way too obvious. Like they talk about, I can't get any signal. I thought this place gets national coverage. That's because the boogeyman uses radio signals from Cape Race Lighthouse's radio station to pick people up from the real world, in my opinion. So some of these clues, they have Jim and Tabitha calling each other chief and captain. it's way too obvious that it's going to be involve some sort of explorer and
Right.
Native American
What-
chief,
okay.
right? So they were like, oh, we got to cut that. So there's a lot of fairly obvious clues in there. Probably shouldn't have talked about it but it is publicly available. Like he won, you type in from original script and it just pops up as a PDF first page of Google results. Doesn't look like it's hidden or it's on a website that for people who want to read pilot scripts.
Thank you.
Yeah. Worth a read. Jade was originally a sexy teenage girl.
That would have been weird. That would have been super
weird
as like Jade being a sexy teenage girl freaking out and being entitled. You know what I'm saying? Like that would have been very interesting to see that instead of the Jade that we got. Because
she's hot
she's hot.
She's hot in the original script. Her name is Jade, still Jade.
Okay.
And she's a hottie and she's not a billionaire. And then they changed it.
Okay, interesting.
She's in a bikini. She's in a full-on bikini.
Man.
When she shows up in town?
In the original script, she's in a bikini top, if I remember correctly.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I love Jade and his character development in thus far the show. You know, when he first gets to the town and he thinks everything's a freaking escape room and everyone's like, are you the guy who thought this was an escape room? Like, please don't try me. And then he's, trying to figure everything out. And then he changes the distill and makes livable alcohol for everybody to, enjoy now. And then he's freaking out and always having these visions, and then he leaves Jim in that tree to run off. And yeah, Jade is going through. So I love his transitions. His character he cracks me up. I love him. I think that he's probably one of my favorite characters.
And that's why I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't include this thing where everyone who's having seizures is about to be possessed, because I really didn't want Jade's character to disappear and he's just possessed by some evil being and he's plays this evil being for the rest of the series. That would be really rubbish. But I think that may be what happens, unless something happens to stop him from being taken over. I mean, do you remember how Boyd was about to be possessed by the ballerina, and she's constantly putting her hands all over his face and around his mouth and around his neck, and then this kimono Wraith is doing the same thing to Elgin, and now Jade's getting it, grabbing him around the neck and around the mouth. I think that they're all trying to do the same thing, and we knew that Boyd was about to be possessed, and then he passes the possession on to Smiley. And then that possession bursts out, seizes three people, Julie, Marielle, and Randall. And I think I basically know, to be honest, because of Marielle's the actor behind Marielle's background. She's a professional ballerina dancer, or she has been in the past. She's danced like professional ballet with one of the best ballerina troupes in the world. The last role she had was a ballerina. So I think Marielle is going to be possessed by the boogeyman. It's not done with those three. It's going to pick one, and she's going to do some creepy ass ballerina dancing. Okay. And I think that's why she was hired. I'll be very sad if Jade gets possessed.
I just want to say a quick thank you to my buddy E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Thank you for coming through and supporting us in the comments. He just hit me with a nice $50 donation on Cash App. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm not monetized. I make nothing off of my videos right now, so I'm doing all of that for the love of everything. Oh man, I learned the hard way. Don't reuse your content for YouTube on other platforms. It is a problem. So I am not monetized.
You got demonetized, man. That sucks.
Yeah.
But I think Real uses Cash App or something.
I have a Cash App.
You gotta have that flashing along the bottom, man. We gotta see that. There it is. Yes. You gotta help out the movie blog. He got demonetized by some bureaucrat.
Thank you.
Oh,
literally. They're trying to put you in a box, man. We ain't gonna let them.
But just like the townsfolk did with Frank Pratt. They're trying to do it to you. Don't let him, man. Don't let him.
Thank you.
Do you want to get to this question you have up?
Yeah. So how do y'all think Victor survived all these years? Did the boy in white save him? If he did, why did the boy in white stop communicating with him? Why does this evil spirit have this connection to Victor?
I think Victor was possessed for 40 years by the dragon archetype, who was originally Lilith from an apocryphal version of Jewish sort of Genesis, sort of Eden stories.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. What do you
Either
think,
that
Anthony?
or Miranda made a deal for his life, maybe, to tell, all those townsfolk died. Maybe the boogeyman's like, you have to choose between Eloise and Victor. And then she's like, I'm not going to choose between them. You take me instead. And he's like, fine. But Victor has to stay here for 40 years. And you need to give me the lives of 40 people. So maybe she betrays 40 people. Or there's an eclipse. Who knows? I don't know. Sorry, I'm just throwing out theories. Sorry, I talked too long. Go ahead.
No. Want to give another quick thank yous, Amy and V Love. I see you supporting me. Amy's giving regularly to this channel. Thank you so much. Vanessa Wicked, that's my girl right there. Like, she's about to claim me on her taxes for real. I am independent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you donating, showing support on this channel. I have it scrolling on the ticker at the bottom. I'm gonna add my PayPal too. I don't know why I didn't put that, but thank you all so much. To go into what we were talking about, I have to shut the fuck up. But what I can kind of highlight is I always found it interesting that we don't know the whole story of what happened to Victor that day, right? We know Miranda went running off. She ran out of the cellar, and Eloise followed behind her. And I studied that scene pretty closely. And one of the things that I noticed is that when Victor was in the cellar, my guy was clean. Like, he didn't have dirt on him.
Nope.
His mouth wasn't bleeding, none of that. He was scared, but he was clean.
Yep.
But when he came out of the cellar the next day, he was filthy. He had dirt on his face, on his arm. I wonder what happened. I don't think it was just him sleeping on the floor. That cellar, it kind of looked like it had beds. So I just wonder if something happened to him that night while he was in the cellar. That's all I can say.
The cellar. That's interesting because Kenny said there's something interesting buried in the cellar as well. Was it buried? Did he say buried? I think it was buried. Yeah.
You remember Jade took Kenny back to the cellar because Jade had saw the boulder thing.
Yeah, on top of the war. On top of the war.
Like, cellar. This place is strange.
Yeah.
And that was
that cellar?
Yeah, it was that cellar. It was the door. So Julie actually came through that door in that cellar as well when she went through the faraway tree. That was the door that she came back into town through.
But is that the cellar where the suitcase thing is happening? Is that the same cellar? Do you think? Yeah.
The suitcase thing?
Yeah. What suitcase? Yeah. What suitcase?
Sorry, I thought that's what we were talking about. Victor's suitcase. Sorry, what happened? What were you saying about being in the basement? Sorry.
So not the basement, when he was in the cellar. So the night that Miranda went running off and Eloise followed behind her, and they were showing the flashbacks. And then the next day he came out of the cellar and he saw the bodies all strolled around town, and he saw the boy in white dog. This was like back in season 1, maybe episode 4. And it was
I get that.
2 dogs.
And you were saying something's hidden in there or something.
Something happened to Victor that night. When that flashback started, he was clean.
Yeah,
he didn't have
no dirt on him.
That's true. He's dirty.
Right. Yeah. He's significantly dirty. Like someone was throwing him around in dirt and doing something to him in dirt. Like he was dirty. Like he was climbing out, you know what I'm saying? Like of a dirt pile. Like it was pretty significant. And you're completely right about that because I wrote that down in my notes too. I was like, he wasn't dirty and now he's dirty. And that doesn't make, you know what I'm saying? Like the doors were closed after his sister ran out. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So that could be in
unless he slept on the floor. Unless he slept on the floor in the dirt.
He still wouldn't be that dirty though. It was like it was
no,
like
I agree with you. I'm just saying that's the conventional explanation, right? Yeah.
So
but I agree. I think that in this Sophie's choice that Miranda has to make, potentially Victor's dragged out there as well, and then he gets returned to the cellar when she makes her choice. Maybe something like that.
Okay.
Want to say another couple thank yous. Frederick, thank you so much. I appreciate you for dropping a donation on the Cash App. Dana Marie, thank you so much. I'm going to look for your comments. I'm going to look for your comments specifically for your questions. I know that we've been keeping Taran here for a while. I have no idea what time it is in The UK.
It's midnight here for me.
Oh my God. Okay.
But that's okay. I only need to wake up at 9 a.m. But I was up quite late. I was at a wedding last night. And then I wanted to watch From, so I watched it at like 2 a.m. when I got back. So I'm quite sleepy. And it is a work day for me tomorrow, and I work 3 jobs. So I will probably drop off now. I just wanted to answer some questions because we offered it. I think we've done a few, and Yas, you'll cover me, right? For the rest of them. We're staying on a bit longer. Awesome. So yeah, I really found Yas's perspective. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yas?
Yas. My name is Yasmin.
Yas.
I just go by Yas because it's easier for everybody.
Oh, so Yaz. Okay, cool. Yeah, I found Yaz's perspective really refreshing and interesting. I think us theorists, we can get too deep down our rabbit holes, and sometimes you need like a bit of a reality check of like, hang on, I'm watching this show, from a straightforward perspective, and some of the stuff you're saying is too overwrought, and it could be. It could very well be. And yeah, I appreciate the movie blog for having me on. I'm very grateful. And yeah, hopefully people found it interesting, and we'll see. You've now got me super excited for like episode 5, I guess, to see what we learn. If something related to my theory will happen. But yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. Thanks very much, guys, and take it easy. I may leave this on while I'm brushing my teeth and listen to you guys while I'm getting ready for bed. But yeah, once again, I thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Oh man, that was great.
That was great.
That was great. Yes. Thank you for coming through.
Time out. Can I just lean back? Are you also wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt? Oh my God, are we kindred spirits or what? That is so funny. What? We didn't plan this, you guys.
You think we planned this?
Oh.
All right. So Taran gave me a lot to think about.
I bet.
I touched on a lot of my theory before. I don't want to give away my whole, well, maybe I'll give away pieces of it. One thing that I love about this show is that it makes this whole thing. And I love one of the things that you said was something that I did was I need to rewatch it.
Yeah.
After watching the first 2 episodes, I started to appreciate more of season 1, even when on a rewatch. Like I would skim through it and try to look for certain clips to use in my videos. And then I'm like, oh snap, that was important. So I'm really enjoying the meticulous planning that's going into the little things that are in this show.
That's why I was saying, like, we can't read too into certain details, I feel like, because they're in there to kind of, they're trying to trick us with them. You know what I'm saying? It's not, they may have significance, but I feel like there's a bigger picture here that, we will eventually get to see, and we'll be like, oh, that was just in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, just for us to, nostalgia sells. You know what I'm saying? Like that is one of the biggest things that I've learned in watching anything.
So I'm trying to keep up with the comments, and I'm like,
no, you're good. All right, so let's keep going.
So I don't like to. I don't want to like insult people in their theories. Taran put a lot of time and thought in his theories, and I could absolutely be wrong. But I don't agree right now with his theory that Tabitha is Eloise.
Same.
I don't believe in the time travel, and I don't believe in the reincarnation.
Okay.
I still do believe that this is a event that happens in cycles. Certain people are destined to repeat the thing, not quite reincarnation, but they're going to repeat similar beats as someone who's lived before.
I got you.
I think that all of the people in the show play a role. So I feel like Boyd is like the hero. Like if this was a video game, like a Final Fantasy game, there's a hero, there's a magician, there's a healer, there's like
Final Fantasy. That was a good explanation. Final Fantasy. That was perfect.
Right.
You're totally right.
So with that, there's like a main party and then there's tertiary characters. I believe Boyd is one of the main characters, but I don't think he is the main character.
Who do you think is the main character then?
Tabitha.
Okay. I agree with you on that, that she definitely, I mean, I feel like her and Victor are fighting for that top spot. I feel like Victor was demoted. Something happened and he was demoted, and that's why he hasn't seen the boy in white in a while. So I think those two are my, you know what I'm saying? Like those would be my mains.
I feel like Victor aged out. Victor aged out of.
Is he older than Tabitha though?
I think so.
Right, but how did he age out then? You see what I'm saying? Because
no, so I think he aged out of his initial role because I think Victor was the role that Ethan plays now.
I see what you mean.
Right. One thing that I've noticed in season 2 is that Ethan started drawing. Right, he started drawing pictures, and he's like, "Oh, this is me. I need you to remember what I look like in case I die." So I feel like Ethan has inherited the role of Victor. I do feel like Tabitha inherited the role of Miranda. I also think that we're going to see Jim Henry have a connection as well.
Okay.
The biggest thing that kind of breaks the generational thing with those two families is that the Matthews had a third kid.
And he passed away.
He passed away at like 2 years old or something.
No, he was a couple months. He was like 3 months old. He was a couple months old, and he fell off the changing table. That's why that whole thing was so like distraught for that family.
So I feel like we're gonna see either that the Kavanaughs had another kid that they lost, or Thomas had to go in order to fit the mold of what the Kavanaughs were before. The Kavanaughs, Victor, Eloise, Miranda, and Henry.
Okay, I see what you mean.
I feel like, let me pull up my notes because I don't want to. So I said something about these on my last live, or at least I played a recording about it. I said, I think Jade is probably one of the most mysterious characters. He's like the scholar of the game. He's supposed to be the person to crack the codes and figure out how to beat the system. I think Toby, his friend that was in the car, was supposed to be an important piece in this as well. But the dark entity had Sarah take him out before he can even get on the board. I think Sarah's a wild card. She's absolutely being manipulated by the dark entity, but I think she's not fully on the dark side. And that's why the boy in white was also able to use her. She's kind of like a free agent. And I think we're going to see more evidence of these people playing roles as we go further in the show. But I just don't see enough evidence in the show itself to support a lot of the other theories that are out there. I mean, yeah, these theories can fit in. It's like almost like Legos and those bootleg Legos. Like some of them you could get them to fit, but that doesn't mean they're supposed to go together.
That's a great analogy.
Right? So, and I saw someone in the comments say, like, I don't think the writers would dumb down the story for American audiences. I do. I really do. And I wish that wasn't the case, but you don't really see hyper intelligent shows on television, right? They're intelligent to a point.
Correct.
Right? One of the other things that I usually find as a rule in television and movies, and there are a couple of exceptions, but more times than not, they don't want you to have to do homework just to watch the show. Meaning, like, you shouldn't have to go read a book to understand the show. I shouldn't have to go study 5 or 6 other things to understand the show. But I do think that John is aware enough of this audience that he can say, I'm going to borrow this, sprinkle this, and I'm going to take some of this, put that in there too. And I'm going to litter it there for fans, while I have to make this a little bit more simpler, one of the things that really was interesting to me that Taran was saying was that John's been trying to get this show made for 20 years. That's a long time.
It's a really long time. That's longer than J.K. Rowling did for Harry Potter.
Right? And if he couldn't get it made, I feel like he may have had to make some concessions to get it approved.
For sure.
Even going from YouTube Red to television, I think something we commonly hear about behind the scenes is when creators fight with studios. You got to compromise.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. I'm sorry. What's going on again? Am I getting anything?
So I think I have a really crazy theory. So the Ngui children, I think that they need children in order for them to be saved. So they have to take children from the town in order to be saved. So that's why Miranda is missing. Eventually, I think they're going to get to Ethan because Ethan, that boy, have you noticed he tries to run off every instance he gets? He's gone. His parents keep telling him it's not safe. Stop running off. What does this boy do? Go run off. You know what I'm saying? Like in the last episode, he almost died because the Hansel and Gretel monster, grandma, was waiting for him to open the. Yeah, I have a lot to say about grandma and her love for killing all these children. Okay, like what is up with that? Like I definitely want to dive more into that because grandma's always at the door when there's a little kid or a window. You know what I'm saying? You always see grandma trying to murder the children. Then she's like, grandma's here. Like she's like chasing them outside, looking for them. And no. And then she turns full straight monster and was like, nah, I'm not being nice anymore. There's something going on. I'm just saying there's definitely some crazy Hansel and Gretel stuff going on underlining here.
I feel like we're due for a gas recap.
Oh, all right.
But real quick. Jeremy. Oh my God. Jeremy came through with $50. Yo, I need a sound effect for this man. I need to start to do an applause one. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, man. Where's Jeremy's question? He's top of the list.
Let's find Jeremy's question.
Oh my goodness.
So if you guys don't know, I am Yaz the model from the New Blurred Order. Our show streams on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. We talk about all things nerdy. We deep dive. We go into a lot of different things. So if you guys are interested in, checking us out, by all means, check us out. But basically what Anthony is referring to is on our show that I do a Yaz breakdown. And what this is a full-on episode breakdown of all the things that I thought were absolutely crazy. And it kind of gives you more context of what we're talking about. So that way you know exactly all the details as we start deep diving into them. So if you guys don't mind, stick around because I'm going to give you a season 3, episode 3 breakdown. That way you can understand what Anthony was talking about when he said when he asked me about my breakdown. You want me to do it now?
I'm about to pull you up a clip to run in the background.
Oh snap. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Hold on. I think we got another guest.
Oh. Hey.
All right. I'm going to let you do your breakdown.
All right. You ready?
I'm going to take myself off and I'm going to put you up.
It's going to be serious. Okay. All right, guys. So episode 3, season 3 of From has been absolutely amazing. If you haven't been subscribed, please subscribe. It is insane. The opening season, we get to see Tabby kind of like figuring out where she's going in town, and she's going to Victor's house. We found the address. Well, Daddy is, Daddy's not that welcoming because Tabby passes out on his porch and she wakes up and Dad's holding a shotgun, which is very interesting and very refreshing because considering you have a stranger passing out on your porch, I'd be holding a shotgun if she was sitting in my couch sleeping. He then goes to ask her a little bit more questions about how the hell does she know about his son? Is his son alive? He's got so many questions because he wants to figure out if the rest of his family is alive, which I would kind of want to do the same thing, honestly. If this random person just showed up in my life telling me my son is alive and they gave her a lunchbox and here's the name with his name inside of it. And this episode kind of deep dives into Victor's history a little bit and how and why he kind of ended up in the town. We get to figure out his mom is ultimately the reason why Victor ends up in the town. It's not just because of some randomness. It is all a full out plan. So while we're trying to figure this out back in the town, things are still getting a little heated. We did find some food. So luckily we're all trying to, eat and, recompost what vegetables that we have that went rotten. But things are still kind of heating up and getting heavy. Boyd has this crazy idea that he wants to catch him a damn monster. So he's trying to convince his son Ellis to help him with that. And Donna thinks he's batshit crazy. So do I. You can't shoot him. How are you going to catch him? There's so many questions here. With this, it is crazy to even think that what are they going to do? They basically don't have much resources. The resources they have, they're out trying to forage them in the woods, which Kenny, Christy, and Dale, I believe, is that guy that I find really sketchy is his name. He has to go out into the woods with Jade, and they go and find all the vegetables that Kenny and Jim found. Well, while they're harvesting, things are getting a little crazy, and Jade wants to go back home, and he decides, I'm going to just, take off running. Well, Christy's like, no, don't go. It's almost dark. And what happens? She gets her leg caught in a freaking bear trap. A freaking bear trap. Where the fuck did this bear trap even come from? They've been walking around these woods forever, and there's a bear trap all of a sudden. Well, now we got to figure out how to get her out. We only got 2 hours left. The danger is coming, so we're grabbing sticks, we're grabbing everything, we're trying to pry it apart. Her leg is still stuck, and yeah, she's definitely going to possibly lose that leg. Well, luckily, there's statues, those wooden, creepy-looking statues. They have poles, and Jade gets this bright idea that he's going to go grab some and help her get out. Well, luckily, they did. Thank God. She gets to get her leg relocated back in her ankle. That was beautiful to watch, and from here, we get to see basically what goes on in the town, and Boyd's still acting crazy and trying to figure out how he's not going to let these monsters beat him. It's insane. I'm not going to lie. This show has very, very much details, but what's going on with Tabby? Tabby is deciding that after looking at all of these photos from Victor's mother, Miranda, that she painted while she was on this crazy acid trip with her husband, that maybe might lead to some clues that might help Tabby figure out what's going on in the town and how to get back to the town. Well, there's a weird sound coming from outside, and Tabby knows this sound. It's bottles and trees. She asks Henry, what is that noise? And he explains to her that his wife was an artist. This is one of the creations that she loves so much, she took it home with her. Well, they don't have any messages in it. So Tabby was like, this is not exactly what I'm looking for. And Henry explains to her that the real tree is over a couple towns away, about 3 towns away. And Tabby's trying to find the hole for the faraway tree so she can climb back in and go back to town. Well, on this journey, they're listening to music, and it just so happens that Henry and Tabby actually have the same song for their significant others, which is kind of interesting and weird all at the same turn. But they keep driving down the road, and Tabby looks in his glove compartment and realizes, holy cow, this is the same bracelet I made for my husband. How is it in your glove compartment? Well, apparently his wife, Miranda, gave it to her husband, Henry, years back. Even more crazy. But as they're driving along, Tabitha still has a concussion. She's starting to get seasick, and she's starting to get a little eerie and a little freaked out. And guess what happens? She wants him to pull over, and he doesn't want to pull over. He keeps driving. A car accident. And guess what happens? The EMTs come and they save them, and they're driving down the road, and Tabby comes unconscious, and she wakes up, and she's like, where are we going? Why are we going? And the EMTs realize that she's the Jane Doe that went missing in the hospital that they were looking for with the lunchbox. Well, guess what happens? The tree in the road. that's where we end this, the tree in the road. Tabby's on her way back home now with Henry.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness, I got my very own Yaz breakdown on my. We're doing big things.
Oh, glad I could help, Anthony. Glad I could help.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the comments.
No, you're good.
What
you're
happened.
Good.
No, it's like there's a full-on debate.
They're having conversations without us.
Oh, is it? That's the way to put it lightly. So, none of my mods are here right now, so I'm gonna try to figure out. I don't even think I can make someone a mod right now. So Chicago, thank you for coming through. I really appreciate your support and enthusiasm. But one thing I want to do is I want to keep this different, right? Like, I understand that there's disagreements, but please, brother, can we tone it down a bit till another time? I don't want to go further than that. I'm asking you nicely. I really appreciate you for coming through, and I definitely don't want to like rub you the wrong way because you came through to support us and things just went left. So I appreciate it. You can tone it down for now, and let me know what questions you have. Let's get back to the real stuff. Because you know what I really would love to do? I don't do a lot, but I do have pictures from next episode.
Why did you tell me that? No, I want to see them.
I do have pictures from next episode, so
I just like.
You're like, oh, don't spoil it.
I like want to see them, but I'm so like, do we want to do it? I don't know. The comments are saying don't do it.
Don't do it.
They're saying to do it.
Michael, don't do it. Shelby, she's like, we got what? Pictures.
Yeah, we got
the
pictures.
Next episode.
So that way you guys can see.
No? Oh, wait. Who said no? Amy said do it.
Michael said no. Yeah, can we have a vote?
Oh, wait. Where are my Patreon members? Y'all get to final vote.
So we have a lot of yeses. I think.
Right. I'm calling it my mod. No, Frankie, no. Hold on. All right, let me get some votes. Let me get some votes.
So we got a lot for do it, and we only got a couple for no.
Quan said Quan's out. Come on, Quan. Look, I'm gonna tell you this. For those of you who have seen my live in the past, I don't go crazy, right? Like, I'm not gonna be like, here's proof that Tabitha is Miranda. That's not gonna happen. But I do like to tease. Debbie, don't go. Debbie, trust me. Debbie, Amy, do it. Yeah, Amy. All right, the mod is on the way. Show them. Oh, William Waddy, thank you. Listen, a lot of you who are watching and aren't subscribed and wondering why you can't comment, you need to subscribe. Mm-hmm. I need you to subscribe so you can get in your vote. Debbie, don't leave.
She said, I'm out. Deuces.
All right.
We might as well. Whoever left. So
one. Can I show one picture? All right. I'm gonna get one picture, and then we can
Michael bounced too. He said bye. Bye, Michael.
Nah, come on. You guys don't trust me?
Okay, one. They said one. You can show one.
All right.
Watch this be the one that is the spoiler for us. Watch that.
What do we have to go on to? 6, 7? Right? Let me stop messing with you. No, I'm not going to show images from 6 or 7. I'm going to show you one decent one from 4. I don't think this. All right. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
Ooh.
I'm not going to show you anything that you don't already know. Real niggas, you trying to get up in here? Share screen window. Just one. Let that sink in. Now, this is something that we all saw from the trailer. But it adds context. Oh, you on mute, guys. Oh, you doing something else. Okay.
I'm muted. I'm sorry. I was saying that like you could definitely tell these are like the monsters because their skin tone has like a grayish hue. I've noticed that like they have a different hue to their skin tone. It's like super vampire-y type gray. But yeah, no, I can't. I still have this weird feeling that these monsters are evolving in their ways of trapping and eating. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they're luring them out now. It's not just like, you know, they're waiting to catch whoever's outside. They're like, these guys aren't going outside unless we lure them out. And this, I mean, like I said, there's more EMTs coming into town. What do you think is going to happen? She's luring that she's faking hurt right now so that when they open the doors, all her people will crowd. And then, you know, like, yeah, this is gonna be insane. Oh gosh, I can't wait to see this now. I'm jonesing to see episode 4 now. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Lisa, girl, thank you so much. And thank you so much. Donated $50 on Cash App. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. Oh my gosh. Lisa, look, when you guys if you're gonna send me something on Cash App, do me a favor. In the note, give me your screen name so I know exactly who to look for and thank properly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through. This image, I can't say anything.
Yeah, I know, because you'll ruin it for us. It's okay, we get it. But that's just where my theory is like, you know, obviously they get into town at night. She's luring them out, and there's 4 people that we know of, 4 to 5 people inside of that ambulance, because there's there was 2 EMTs in the back, one's driving, and then Henry and Tabby are the passengers. So yes. There's 5 people in this van, and I don't think all 5 are going to end up making it. I think there's going to be a deduction, and we're going to end up with 2. And we already know which 2. That's my guess.
Okay. So,
he's like, man.
Okay. I see it now. We need some. Let me add you. Hold on one second. And
so my question is, how do you think Boyd is going to end up trying to catch this monster or injure it somehow? Because obviously he's trying to, I mean, he has thoughts about maybe trapping it in a house with the talismans, which is pretty smart. But what happens when it's daylight, or you know what I'm saying, and he tries to go and you know what I'm saying,
I
figure out
love
his
how
next
the
move.
how the country kind of addressed that. He's like, "What are you going to do?" You know, it's
That's what I'm saying. Like, and Donna alluded to it as well. They shot him up close with the 12 gauge. It doesn't do anything to them. They smile, they laugh. You know what I mean? So what other resources do they have other than the sniper rifle that Randall came into town with? I mean, even I'm just saying, even if it's got a 50 gauge in it, is that going to stop them in their track? Or, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to kill them. We know that.
so. I feel like she's been hitting them with buckshots, right? Like that's also the same guy that what's his name shot Boyd with. He shot him from far, and all it did was spread across them.
Right.
If they would have hit him with like different bullets,
Okay.
maybe it would have done more damage.
But I mean, no, they even in the woods, Boyd was like, you know, with his pistol, you know what I'm saying, shooting at them, and it didn't absolutely. That just it goes into their shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Like we see the enter, like the, you know, it enter and it has a bullet wound and everything like that, but like it doesn't do anything to them. It doesn't slow them down. It doesn't stop them in their track. That boy kept walking up to Julie when they were trying to get into the colony house. So I don't know. I feel like there's so many options that he could possibly, you know what I'm saying, use, but at the same point in time, it's all going to end up in the same way. And that's why I think that the monsters with Tai Chin, why they, you know, they're trying to break him, and they're using all of their ways to lure him out. One, you see what I'm saying? Like, yes, they could have killed him, but that wouldn't have been significant at all. You see what I'm saying? Like him dying there would have just been like, because he's trying to save the animals. It would have had no meaning for the monsters. They want the town his death to have meaning for them. I don't know why. You see what I'm saying?
So I have a theory that they're torturing Boyd on purpose, and that's because he's the he's kind of like the hero. He's always like when you play certain games, you notice like the main hero makes all the other characters better.
Yeah.
Right? When he says something heroic, or he's like Captain America with the Avengers, he gives that speech, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we can beat Thanos. We got this. Right? He's inspiring hope. And if they're able to break Boyd publicly, that's going to shatter hope in the town. One of the things that I do agree with is that the forest feeds on hope. I think the forest is an independent player in this story. I don't think it's the light entity or the dark entity. I think it's an independent player. I think it feeds on hope. I think the boy in white feeds on hope, but I feel like the dark entity feeds on hopelessness.
Okay.
One thing that I like is that Boyd is starting to shift his thinking, and he's starting to refine the way that he's living. You know, if this were The Walking Dead, we would have been seeing Rick go on the offensive. He would have been like, "Oh, fuck this shit. We're going to get our guns. We're going to go kill some zombies." But this being from the people have only ever been on the defensive. They've been running, they've been hiding, they've been scurrying. They've tried to shoot the monsters, but the monsters are bulletproof. But that's all they've ever tried.
That's true.
Right?
They haven't tried fire or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they haven't. You're right. You're 100% right. And they have all that alcohol. I mean, if you think about it, Kenny did have the right idea with, you know, trying to burn the monsters after his mother was, you know what I'm saying? But Boyd convinced him, being, you know, Captain America, that, hey, you want to go in there? I'll go in there too. But it ain't going to end well. We're going to die. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically where that conversation went. And then it was just done from there. Kenny was like, okay, Boyd's right. Let's get out of here. They basically just left the alcohol by the cave. So that was another thing I had problems with as well, was like, why would you just leave that much alcohol outside for them so they could burn you out? You know what I'm saying? Like they could literally light a fire on their houses and then burn them outside. You know what I'm saying? Like the monsters are getting smarter. They're evolving. They're figuring out ways to get them out. The animals was just the first. You see what I'm saying? Like that was just the first. And look how many people came out to save all those damn barn animals. 5-6 people came outside. We got to kill one cow and one person. You see what I'm saying? it's just their strategy is getting a lot smarter, and it's very conniving.
I agree. They're leveling up. We're now on level 3 of this game, and the bosses got harder, right? Like Goombas got superpowers now. They're flying. Some of them fight back. Koopa Troopers are throwing hammers. We on the 3rd level, right? So these monsters are now approaching this from a different way. They're definitely approaching this in a way where it's not just about killing you. It's not just about screeching and scaring you. Now it's about, how do I outthink you?
Right.
And it feels like Boyd isn't the only person being tortured. If you start to really pay attention, everybody's breaking.
Yeah.
Ethan is creepy as fuck. Like this little kid.
You're 100% right. He is definitely. I've been noticing that, especially with like his character in the towards the end of the season, especially with Tabitha leaving. He's broken when he's talking about, I don't want her to be buried outside by herself. When he's talking about his mom's dead body, and Jim snaps on him in the kitchen, and Julie's like, great parenting, Dad, father of the year. Like, he's definitely that child is breaking, because what did he do? He opened the door for a goat.
Mm-hmm.
He almost killed him and his sister. Didn't even look outside. He just saw, he didn't even look out the door. He just was like, Alma, no, my best friend. Like, what? I'm sorry, but like that child drives me crazy. Out of all the characters, that child drives me. He either needs to go, or the Angooey kids need to take him, because he's too much right now. Like, I can't deal with like his back and forth, and like he don't listen. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna get everybody killed. That child is. So,
Ethan needs a nap.
He
needs a nap and his mommy.
You know those like those little leashes that you have on kids, not letting you run away. He needs one of those. Okay, like for real.
What else? Who else is breaking? Jade is breaking.
Yeah,
Jade is
broken.
Losing it.
No, Jade's broken. He is. Yeah.
He's teetering. I think he's still kind of with us, because he's still trying to figure stuff out, but he's not doing well.
I feel like after we found him inside of the bar with all the strings, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, I can't see it. Like,
thank God Boyd showed up and picked him up, right? That's Boyd playing his role again.
You're right.
Boyd came through. Go ahead.
Boyd ain't always going to be there, though. And that's why they're trying to kill Boyd, is because he keeps the town going when they're on their break. Donna, Donna's breaking was, when I saw her cry, I was like, oh shit, they made Donna cry. Like that's suicide from that one character. What was his name? Connor, I believe he was his name. Who was it? Oh, Eric was the kid's name. Eric, when Eric commits suicide after the when they're trying to make like the tower. That broke her, like him dying, and she was like, it's not my bathroom, I don't care. Like, no, that broke her, watching it, like having to get his body out of that house. I know. I'm a savage.
Media said Jade's smartness is his weakness right now, and that's what's breaking him.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm saying he is broken, because he's so smart. He's trying to figure all this out, and it's nothing's adding up for him, and he's spiraling. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going down the rabbit hole. Like, he followed the rabbit. He can't find his way out now. Jade is in there.
I'm with you. Donna, Jade. I can't figure out Jim. Jim makes me mad.
What makes you mad about Jim?
This man don't want to watch his kids, like, ever. And you can tell he's never had, right? Well, like, you saw him when he tried to cook for Ethan, and Ethan was like, oh, you want me to... Where's mom? Like, what are we doing? Julie was like, I'm good. I'm going to Colony House and eat some garbage and Fatima. I'm not eating that. But like Jim never wants to be around his kids. He's always justifying leaving his kids behind.
Okay, I see. I feel like Jim is in a fight or flight stage constantly. I feel like he is so tormented by the death of Thomas that is why he is always trying to get away from the children, because if he lets himself think about the fact that, like, you know what I'm saying, their son is that you can tell that whole death is very conflicted for him and Tabby, you know what I'm saying, and especially spending time with the kids, because Tabitha, she tried to include Ethan in everything. You could see that when she was going down into the basement, she's like, let's make a game out of it. You know what I'm saying? With the electricity, they're trying to figure out where the electricity came from. And Jim just kind of watches them whenever he can, and then, you know, freaks out on somebody like Victor, poor little innocent Victor that's just talking to his child, and, you know, all that good jazz. So I feel like he is like one of those dads that, like, you know, like they went off into, like, you know, the service or something like that, and they come back and they're like trying to live civilization, you know what I'm saying, live in civilization, but yet they're always just trying to figure out how to, you know what I'm saying, how to be a hero and how to help. So that's what I think is Jim's biggest confliction, because if you think about it, the tower, that was more important than the kids, you know what I'm saying, like the signal was, you know what I'm saying, like everything is just more important. Like him going out into the woods to try and find Tabitha for the kids was more important than actually being with the kids.
Donna is Tabitha. Tabitha is Miranda. I can't with these theories. I don't think Tabitha is young enough to be the reincarnation of Miranda. Right? Because that would imply that Tabitha was born after Miranda died.
Technically speaking, if you really think about it, Henry said after his 35th birthday is when, on his 35th birthday was when him and his wife dropped acid.
Yeah, so, but the kids were already born.
Correct, the kids were already born. So I mean, and that's, if you really think about it, Jim and Tabitha are around that kind of age range. You know what I'm saying? They're almost 40. They're not quite 40 yet. They're almost 40. If you think,
I think they're 40. Like Jim has some grays.
I mean, I have gray hair. You just can't see. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look closely, you'll see mine too. But like, we all age different. You know what I'm saying? Some of us age better than others. So you see what I mean? True. Tabitha looks way younger than Jim. She don't look like they're the same age. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if you just off appearances, you know what I'm saying? Like, she looks like she could be at least maybe 5 to 6 years younger than Jim. Just, you know, so I think, I don't know. It maybe could be a reincarnation, but I think that's far stretched right there. I really do, because she would just, I don't know. Yes, the connection between her and Victor is prominent, so I could see why everyone is like leading towards that, but I just don't see it at all.
Okay. I'm going to bring in one more guest to help us wrap up. He's been helping out in the comments. Thank you so much, Real Enigmas. I want to kind of be hyper focused in the end, though. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you coming through. I want to see if we can address some of these comments and questions and really just tackle some of the theories that are out there or some of the events that happened in the third episode, and go from there. And, you know, just kind of like make sure that everyone has a moment to address some of these questions.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate you for bringing me up, brother. I love being up here. Love helping out in the chat, man. Definitely. You definitely picked 2 great mods. You got me and Dell in there working, getting busy real quick. I love the energy y'all bringing with the show. What's this sister's name right here?
My name is Yaz.
Yes, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I've seen you on the channel before. I've you know, connected on the channel and watch while I be, you know, driving or whatever. And I've seen y'all. You weren't a familiar face, but you definitely be in here cooking with Anthony for sure. I love to see both of y'all cooking. I love it.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you as well.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm in agreement with what you guys have been saying so far, and like even with what a lot of people in the chat are saying, y'all getting some really good feedback in the chat. Carrie, she's down there cooking as always. I see the Man in Black was saying some dope stuff as well. But yeah, what's your approach on wrapping this live up?
So I want to address a couple comments because you know what? One of the things that I love, and I think one of the expectations we have is that engaging with the audience. And I think a lot of them really enjoy coming to the channel to just kind of engage in that way.
Yes. Okay. So
I want to just
are you talking about like how the show is engaging with the audience, or how
us right here,
live stream?
Right? So like
okay.
like one of the things was somebody asked me, how do I get these pictures? It's the same way I get the episodes. You know, I'm a critic. Like I do YouTube. I've been doing YouTube for like a while now, off and on. But long before that, I've always been a critic. The movie blog is themovieblog.com. It's the official home of correct movie opinions. You can come and you can check me. You're going to be able to check Yaz soon. You're going to be able to check more of the new Blurred Order as we start to share our opinions about film and television on themovieblog.com. We're able to get access to things a little bit sooner, right? Certain things I can't talk about that I have, certain things I can. Like, you guys might have noticed that I don't even cover Rings of Power on YouTube, but I have interviews with like the cast of Rings of Power, and I've just been slowly releasing them because I'm actually just really busy. Like, I'm just really swamped with stuff. Like, I'm trying to catch up on the Penguin. Well, not even catch up. I'm trying to get ahead so that when it comes out, I can talk to it a lot more intelligently because I have that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I got a question for you. How is it like watching a show that you like and being able to preview the show before like the rest of the fans? Like, how does that feel as a critic?
So,
good question.
It depends on the show and the movie, right? Okay. Like when I watch Beetlejuice before people, I'm like, yo, you know, Beetlejuice. But when it's from, here's what changed my opinion. Honestly, it was because I know other people have access to the show as well. And I've been seeing a lot of people pose questions or theories as if they don't know what's going to happen. Like, oh, I think Tabitha's going to meet Victor's dad when she gets to Camden. Like, that's not a theory, bro. I have, okay. So, like, that's kind of altered my perception on how to approach From. Like, I can be much further ahead of the show, but I'm intentionally choosing not to go far ahead because I want to talk to people authentically and organically. I don't want to
right. You don't want to have all the answers, and you want to hit them with the, and you don't want that to affect your theory crafting as well. I can see.
It's important to me because it's part of the fun, right? Just like I think John and them are doing this on purpose. They're leaving these Easter eggs for us to try to make theories. This is part of the fun. Half the fun of the show is coming through on Monday and talking with the family and trying to figure out what everybody caught and what I missed and what might improve my other theories. One thing that Taran helped me with my theory is his detail about the witch and the veil, though. Like, there's a lot of similarities with his theory and my theory.
Okay.
There's some parts where it differ, though. But to be fair, I'll admit I have not given the same amount of time as Taran with his theory. Like, he's been doing this since season 1. I've been theory crafting since season 2, sort of, and then season 3, it was with me and E-Man. We were talking on the phone, and I'm just like, I started blurting out there, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I think you got it." And then he starts filling in.
Oh, yo, I just caught what you were saying. You said Taran. I used to say Taran.
Taran?
But his name is Taran. Like Darren.
I wish you would have corrected
me.
Like
Darren with a T. Taran.
Taran. Okay. So Taran. So Taran.
I was like, when you were saying that, I was like, "What is bro talking about?" And then I was, but no,
I wish he would have
got
corrected us both too, because I was saying his name wrong also when he asked me how to say my name. So
yes, Taran. Yeah. Taran came with some heat with the tarot theory for sure. Like that theory definitely took off in the Reddit world, and then it made its way to the YouTube world, and everybody really likes the theory because the clues are obvious, and he was the one that saw them. You know what I mean? I love the theory. I love that theory. As far as the Beothok and all of that as well, like we're gonna do a whole documentary on that because I've been covering the show in a way that I kind of focus on the esoteric stuff. So some of these things come up because they have placed them in there in a hidden manner. So I mean, esoteric is just a fancy word for hidden, for real. So they've put in some of these things in there in a hidden manner. And so some of these things come up. But when I read his theory, what drew me to it was the tarot aspect. And then when I actually start reading it, and he was talking about John Cabot, and then he's talking about the Beothok tribe, the Inuit, all of those things like were lining right on up with my theory. My theory was mostly based on the Native American aspects of the show and also the indigenous American aspects of the show. And then, you know, of course, we all saw the Civil War soldier in season 1, but I started noticing other things like the book that Jim was showing Ethan called The Grand Gulagog is very similar to a book here called The Gollywog. And I remember last year, me and you got into a real good debate about the Lonely Dragon, and the Cromanacle. And turns out we were both right, actually. That was crazy how this show did that. And then I discovered that we were both right because I was like, hold on, wait. Ethan says that the Lonely Dragon gives the Cromanacle the map from a pile of stuff that nobody wanted. And so we saw, and he was saying that the storage room reminded him of the Lonely Dragon's cavern. And so then we saw Tien Chen, who her husband had been taken away. Well, we know she's gone now too. But we saw Tien Chen give Jade that book of symbols in the picture of Christopher and all of that. There also was the yearbook that revealed the true name of the school. All of that came from, you know, the Tien Chen pretty much dropping that book on Jade. But then I had pegged him the Cromanacle, Tien Chen the Lonely Dragon, but then you had pegged
I said
Tabitha,
Jade was the Lonely Dragon.
Tabitha as the Cromanacle. So we were both right about those Cromanacles. I was thinking about this concept, and as we got to close to the end of season 2, I was thinking about both of our concepts, and I went and I just said, let me catch a rewatch real quick. Boom. Season 1, episode 3, Tabitha explicitly says to Ethan, there are going to be 2 Cromanacles. There are going to be 2 Cromanacles in the cave. So, you know, the 2 people that went into the cave were Tabitha and Jade. Victor also went in there, but I see Victor as Tabitha's Lonely Dragon. Because just like Tien Chen gave Jade the book, Victor gave Tabitha the picture of the bottle tree, which she used to get out of Frumlin.
Real, I gotta ask you a question.
Interesting.
What part of New York you from? Because I hear some New York in you.
Okay, so I was born in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And so when I was 10, I moved to Florida, and I grew up in Florida. So
okay.
But the thing was, I was a hip hop head. I was a young rapper, you know what I'm saying? And I listened to up north music. And I went through from moving up north to down south. It was like a culture shock.
Yes, it is. I live in Florida. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? So
I'm a northerner, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So my accent kind of swayed. But then at the same time, I developed a Southern accent as well from being just 10 years old and growing all the way up into a grown man. In the South, I kind of developed the Southern accent as well. But you know, but not for nothing, my grandmother is from the South and lived in the house with me when I was in Pennsylvania growing up as a little kid. So I always knew what the Southern accent was all about. I could understand it, I could actually imitate it and whatnot. So I just have this like culture shock. And just being a rapper, writing my own rhymes and things like that, I just became a good orator. And I pride myself on my vocabulary, although I do use a lot of curse words and things as well. I like to balance it out with a
gotta be
decent
expressive,
vocabulary.
real.
Right. Yeah. And
All
so, yeah, and the thing about it is I've probably only been to New York 3 times in my life.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I love
It's
New
the
York, though.
culture.
Don't get it twisted. I love New York. Everybody thinks I'm from New York. And they used to call me New York when I lived in Florida.
That's
And like,
funny.
my accent changes, and I swear I'm not doing it on purpose. Like I swear I'm not like fronting an accent. Like that's, my accent changes depending on my mood,
Yep.
depending on who I'm talking to. And I see that commonly with a lot of people that move from up north to down south or from the West Coast to the East Coast. Like I see that they're very fluent with their accents. And so, yeah, there you have it. That's a little bit about me.
Amy says New York and Florida are sister states. They like sisters that fight.
Yeah, we're definitely sisters that fight. We're nice sometimes, and then we're not nice sometimes. So yeah.
What town in PA? Hector wants to know what town in PA you from, real.
Originally from Harrisburg.
Okay, so that's I swear to God, I was gonna say you had to be like near there because that's what I wasn't gonna say. He's from New York. I feel like there's a big misconception with accents from New York and Pennsylvania a lot, and I know that you live in New York, Anthony. So, you know what I'm saying? Like you're a true New Yorker. I was just born there, so like, and I got to live there a little bit, but I have a lot of friends like that are from Philly, and I always like every time they talk to me, I'm like, I swear you could be like my cousin, you know what I'm saying? But it's Philly, you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
you had that tri-state connection. Shout out to Allentown. Yeah, shout out to Allentown. You have that tri-state connection. You got that New York, PA, and New Jersey.
Yes, and that's what I was like trying to figure it out because my homeboy on the New Blurred Order, he's from Jersey, you know what I'm saying? But he also has that New York, you know what I'm saying, and PA vibes to him as well. So it's like a very tri-state, like, but he don't even live out there anymore. So it's really it's a different vibe. You can definitely tell.
So good. People from PA wear Timberlands too.
Yeah, we wear Timberlands too. Yeah. We wear Timbs too. Like I took the Timbs to Florida, and everybody was like, "Boy, you about to pass out this month."
Yep, they were looking at you weird. I remember when I moved here. Oh my gosh, I had like 18 pairs of Timberlands, and I had to get rid of all of them. And they were all and that when winter came, I did wear them for like 1 or 2 years, and then I had to get rid of them because I was like, "This ain't real winter. What the hell are y'all doing out here?"
So Quan Solar said he's from B-More. Okay, that's what's up. B-More be fucking me up though with the accent. They accent trips me out when they say do and two. They be like do. I'll be like, yo, that accent kills me. What is that? Man. Quan Solar, shout out to Quan.
Appreciate you, Quan. I don't want to cut us off because I feel like we have a good vibe and we have a good audience, but I actually have another live to go to.
Nah.
Oh wow, no problem. Yeah, this was good. This was a good top off. I'm sorry about that, negativity that was in your chat earlier. You know what I mean? That was crazy. Like as a guest, you should never come up to a show and get disrespected like that. That's crazy. Especially when there are other platforms where you know how to connect with this person. It just seems like, it was just a stab to like publicly do something that was just corny to me. But, Chicago made gaming, like that was wild corny, bro. Like, but Taran, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning over there. So I know dude would have been in here defending himself if it wasn't like 1 in the morning. You know what I mean? But that was wild. I really didn't like that. I'm glad you got us as mods and stuff. You are a mod on my channel as well. So
Thank
anytime you
you.
come into my lives, you got that wrench, and feel free to keep it positive and let us keep this positive vibe. When I see you live, I'm coming through, and I will definitely help keep the chat positive and orderly. And Delcinia, she's there. Yo, she is a godsend every
Yes.
way and every way possible. Like, she does so much for the community as a whole, and so do you. I appreciate you and what you do and what you bring to the table is pretty dope.
Thank you. Thank you. When I started on YouTube, it was hard. It was like crushing, and it was depressing, and nobody wanted to help me. Nobody wanted to help me grow. Nobody wanted to give my thoughts or my opinion any attention, because once you start doing this, it's very easy to become self-serving, right? You just want to figure out how you can grow yourself. I don't know what everybody's platform is. I don't know what anybody does. It doesn't matter to me. The way I look at it is I just want to be the change I want to see.
Ooh.
I work with a lot of YouTubers that might not have a lot of followers. They might have a couple hundred followers. They might have 20 followers. If they're a good voice and they just need a chance, I'm going to give them a chance. That's just how I look at it.
Yo, I've always been like that too. Like, I'm in the music industry, and pardon me, I work with a lot of people that I don't even like, you know what I'm saying? But I still try to be generous and try to help people, because I try to be what I didn't have. Just like you want to be the change that you want to see, I try to be what I didn't have, and I didn't have people helping me out. But I do want to know, I just now, I'm new to this YouTube thing. I just started my page last year. It kind of blew up pretty quick for me. I was monetized in like 30 days, and it was like, wow, like, I didn't expect any of that to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And, I just kept cooking my content, letting people have some, but I did try to help people along the way, and I've been trying to help people this year along the way, and I really have been, burnt in some kind of ways and stuff like that. So if the people out there noticing real enigmas and theories kind of falling back from that kind of vibe, yeah, that's why. But at the same time, if you see me still out there reaching out to people, helping people, know it's that I really fuck with them and I really see something in them, and that's why I want to help out, But I appreciate you for being that. And like, yo, you were the first big YouTuber to drop a comment, and I'm calling you a big YouTuber because you are to me. You know what I'm saying? Your channel does some great content. You get the scoop on some real good shit. And I've been watching your channel since I started my channel. Like, you popped up on my algorithm. I've been following you and watching you, and you was the first brother to come into my comment section and spark up the conversation and get something going. Then, we reached out to each other and we bumped heads on we bumped into each other actually on Reddit it was.
Yeah.
And that was dope too, you know what I'm saying? So thank you for just coming through and like not being all bougie with the shit. Drop the comment in my chat, and let people know like you listen and watch my videos. And like I watch your shit too. So I even gave you a shout out in like a couple of videos actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you.
So go check them from last year. And it was a dope vibe when we was on the live stream with Tony. You know what I'm saying?
I want to do another with Tony.
I definitely want to do one with you, E-Man, Tony, Jeremy. Like, do that shit. We need to replay of that. We need to remix that. Do it again. Like, especially when we did it, the show hadn't started yet, really.
Yeah.
So now that it's here, we need to do it again. And I would love to see Yaz come up, and what I mean.
We got to get the whole new Blurred Order in here. It's a whole crew.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just a little piece of my crew. We a whole blurred panel of color. Like we all have our own specialties that we dive into, and like we're interesting. Check us out.
Is anybody covering grotesserie?
No. What's that?
Ooh,
wait, hold on. We got to talk about this afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk about this another time.
Yeah, let me say this. When's the next time you going live?
I go live on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I've been doing this thing called Express Live when whenever I feel like it, I'm gonna just pop on. It might be 2 in the morning, it might be 2 in the afternoon. I don't never know. If I feel it, if Taran might call me, me and him be sitting down. Me and Taran talk every day. Like we talk every day. We be sitting on the chat, having lunch, talking, planning shit together. Like we going on trips. We gonna be in Providence. Taran and I will be in Providence on the 19th of this month. And so we going there. We're doing a documentary on H.P. Lovecraft. So we're going there to do some searching and deep diving over there. And like we talk all the time. Sometimes he might say some shit and I'll be like, yo, we gotta go live. Boom, we going live. Like so, but Wednesdays and Saturdays is my definite days.
Okay. I wanna one, I need to be a part of that group chat. Two, you have an invitation to come through anytime. I'm going to be live on Mondays at 5. I go live also every Saturday with the New Blurred Order. We go live around 10 a.m. That's our time?
Yes,
Eastern?
and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Nice
So 10 a.m. to 12. So, I mean, you can always catch the replay and, you know what I'm saying? I check the comments back.
I'm going to start promoting it. You're going to start seeing the links. You're going to see me promoted in the chat. But yeah, this is a beautiful thing. I can't keep everybody any longer, but I want to thank you both for coming through. Yaz, oh my gosh, blessing us with a recap. Oh my gosh, that was great. Real Enigmas.
Bro, if you want a good laugh, go check out my recap for episode 3.
I've been trying to step my game up. I know E-Man is the funny man. Now I'm hearing you stepping it up. It's all like who's gonna out-funny each other. It's like Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and Chris Rock in a room right now.
The kings of comedy.
But yeah. Yaz's channel is New Blurred Order. New Blurred Order. I'm gonna put that in the chat.
I'm gonna put that on my my notes here so that when I'm in your chat, I'll be posting your links. I'll be posting the movieblog.com. I'll be posting Yaz's channel. I won't ever post my channel unless you prompt me to post my channel or anything like that. I'm not one of those that's going to come in your chat and spam. And just because you gave me a wrench, I'm going to spam your chat with my shit. I'm not here to talk about my shit. This is your live stream. And those who know, they know. It is all good. And I know sometimes you'll be like, yo, somebody post Real's page in the chat or whatever. And that's what it is. But I'm not just going to come spam your shit. Don't worry about that.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for coming through and joining us today. Look, this has been a lot of fun. I know it's a little bit different. It was more of a panel. Thank you all for checking us out and enjoying checking out our content. For everybody who was able to give this video a like, I seen like 300 of y'all and like 150 likes. We're going to talk about this after. But thank you all for coming through.
Thing I said when you put the wrench in my hand, get them likes up.
All right, everybody. That's all I have for this one. We're going to do this again next week.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.